Dansby throws to first base. Is this happening? It is! The Atlanta Braves are world champions. The Atlanta Braves have won the 2021 World Series in 6 games over the Houston Astros. Pure euphoria down on the field as they're bouncing all over the infield and in the booth. Celebration going on the field, and folks, this is what dreams are made of.
There it was last night. Jim Powell, who joined us last Friday to break down and analyze the Atlanta Braves and Houston Astros. Jim Powell with the Atlanta Braves Radio Network. And boy, Jorge Soler put a shot into left field that signaled that game was going to go the Braves' way early on in the 3rd inning. Patrick, Max Fried last night. I know you don't remember Tom Glavine in 1995. They showed the statistics late in the ball game comparing Tom Glavine's outing against the Cleveland Indians in Game 6 in 1995 to Max Fried last night. Max Fried, who had struggled his last 2 times out, 6 innings, no earned runs allowed, 6 strikeouts, no walks, and he was cruising, absolutely cruising through about the first 5 innings. 6th inning, got into a little bit of a mess, gave up a few extra pitches, but an absolute demolition of the Houston Astros last night. And the Atlanta Braves, Patrick, I know for you being a Nationals fan, but also for some of our listening audience being a little bit younger, you don't remember the 90s era Braves, the early 2000s, so much heartbreak, so much heartache, and they get it done last night. 27 years later, it was something. I stayed up for it. I didn't make it very long after Freddy Freeman called the final out, but it was absolutely something. How much of it did you get to take in while playing a little trivia wherever you were?
I saw all of it. I mean, I didn't pay full attention to all of it, but we were at the bar until the end, so it was pretty easy. I mean, that the Braves didn't face elimination once, dominated the clincher in the World Series, and I think as a fan, that's probably the best you could have hoped for. It was, I get honestly not that entertaining of a game because they just dominated so much. I paid half attention. I saw Soler's just absolute nuke, Dansby Swanson bomb. And that was really all she wrote. Max Fried was awesome. People were worried about him all week, and he was just money. I don't know what else you could have asked for as a Braves fan, making it as stress-free as possible and just cruise through that thing, drink your drinks, and celebrate. Just 2.5 hours of celebration, basically.
I don't know if Braves fans can truly celebrate. Atlanta is a sports town that has suffered again through some severe times. I saw people last night, which I don't think being a Braves fan and a Falcons fan is mutually exclusive, even for people that live in Atlanta. But I saw Braves fans last night who kept referencing the Falcons' 28-3 lead against the Patriots in Houston. I didn't even realize it was in Houston. I just kept seeing that would pop up, and people were kind of losing their mind last night. And so I don't know if you and I, we've had this discussion before about game 7s and or winning championships and doing it in memorable fashion with a walk-off or some kind of wild victory where you win 1-0 late in the game, or as you just mentioned, where complete domination happens early on and you're able to kind of cruise through the game. I don't think Braves fans were even able to relax last night until the final out was made and the dog pile was starting to ensue. It really is a cool story, but certainly last night I didn't expect absolute domination in the way that the Atlanta Braves go out and win that baseball game.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, Braves fans were all stressed out, but I mean, they did have 2 games and they had breathing room, and they really just didn't even need it. I just saw this stat that they're the first team to have both the NLCS MVP and the World Series MVP be midseason acquisitions. So props. I mean, Jim Powell said it when he was on here, but that's as good of a job managing a baseball team as you can get for what Alex Anthopoulos, is that how you say? Anthopoulos?
Yeah, both
Anthopoulos. Mm-hmm. So yeah, props to him. I mean, good for the Braves. Atlanta's not a losing city anymore.
No, they're not. And a lot of fun, big parade, and enjoy it. Just enjoy it. There's a bunch of us, bunch of people. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm some kind of massive Braves fan. I grew up watching them. They and the Yankees were kind of the two teams that I grew up pulling for entirely different reasons. But my father got me into it. I've been to Braves games. Certainly remember the Maddox and the Glavine and the Smoltz and the Steve Averys, the Ryan Kleskos, the Chipper Joneses, Javi Lopez. You can go on and on and on. And before that, Jeff Blauser and Mark Lemke at shortstop and second base. So certainly remember it, but probably not a Braves fan to the extent some of y'all are this morning. And if you're waking up, if you've made it through the night and you're waking up, maybe try to make it to work to celebrate with coworkers this morning. Don't call in this morning. Patrick, it got off to a wild start. Max Fried gets his ankle, his leg stepped on right kind of at the beginning of the game. And you felt like that was a sign of things to come and not in the good manner for the Atlanta Braves last night. But, man, I tell you what, the pitching performance from him, you watched it with your Nationals and some really good pitching performances when they defeated the Astros and won the World Series. And you're right. Max Fried had not been good the last two games. Braves fans were worried about him, but he was ready to go last night. And I don't know if getting his legs stepped on early on turned him on even more, but it sure seemed to work.
Could have fired him up a little bit. I mean, yeah, when the Nationals were there, that's what we were built on starting pitching, though. So, I mean, we had $30 million men all over the place, and Steven Strasburg, Max Scherzer, Patrick Corbin. The Braves, this is what they'd been concerned about the entire playoff run. I mean, I heard when the Braves went on that run to make the playoffs, I heard Braves fans saying, yeah, that was nice, but we just don't have the pitching to really get it done. So, this thing's going to end at some point, and guys just made it happen. So lose your starting pitcher in game one and then have that kind of performance from Max Fried after struggling in his first start. I mean, that's really all you can ask for. It was pretty amazing.
So that we'll get into the Braves. 803-404-6100. How you can join us this morning if you want to weigh in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. Ron from Lake Marion weighing in at 4:08. Patrick, 4:08, and trust me, the baseball game ended around 11:45. So Ron either stayed up really celebrating last night or gets up really early. He just says, Braves win, Braves win, Braves win. The look on Freddie's face when he caught the last out was worth staying up. Anonymous texter says, my daddy is dancing in heaven this morning. Our Braves won the World Series. Our buddy Jim in Carolina Beach has sent us a picture that just says World Series champs. He's got a picture of the Braves celebrating. Says, how about them Braves? And then he says, go Tigers, beat Louisville. And Andy weighing in this morning. And he says, as a Mets fan, and I'm sure Patrick can attest, will you be grudgingly extending congratulations to the Braves? Sounds like Patrick's already done that. They're going to be.
It's not that begrudging. I mean, I'm happy for him.
Yeah. I'm more happy. There's a lot of people around that are massive Braves fans, and I was. I certainly, I want to say I was a part of. I don't know if my world ever ended when the Braves would have things happen to them there in the late 90s and the early 2000s. But yeah, there was definitely some heartache, definitely some rough postseason appearances for the Braves when they had some really good teams that didn't go their way. But last night, man, they cap off a run. And the story on Brian Snitker, Patrick, I think in terms of being in one organization for 45 years, they showed kind of the timeline of his Braves career, kind of going up, going down, being a hitting coach, being a minor league coach. I don't know of a better coaching story. And I was trying to think of one last night to open the show with. Can you think of just a better coaching story over the last 10 or 15 years? Just a guy who's been in one organization for 45 years who kind of gets the job because they can't find anybody else on an interim basis, and 4 division championships now, and his first World Series appearance as a head manager, and he gets the whole big piece of hardware.
I'm trying to think, and I'm sure we can go back and find some good ones, but I didn't even know really. I didn't know what the Brian Snitker story was. How long has he been with the Braves?
Well, he's been in the organization for 45 years.
And has he never been anywhere else?
Never been anywhere else.
That's insane. And what were Braves fans' opinions of him coming into this season? Was he on the hot seat or anything? Like,
not really. He's been pretty.
He's just the man.
Pretty well respected. Has done a very good job with that team. I say teams evolve, especially in professional sports, year in, year out. But certainly managing a nice group of younger players when you look at Acuna and Albies, and then mixing in the veterans and Freddie Freeman. Again, you mentioned the midseason move.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. All the midseason acquisitions, when you're able to fit those guys in and just make it a smooth transition, that's not always the case. A lot of times people bring big names in at the trade deadline and it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. You can't get them fit in the lineup, right? Or they're just the new park or whatever it is. It's just not working for them. But I mean, the Braves could have asked for anything more.
So we've got that going, 803-404-6100. If you want to weigh in and add your congratulations or just revel in the moment and talk about some kind of old memory that you have and how it all kind of came full circle last night, 27 years later. Hard for me to believe the Braves collect their second World Series championship as an Atlanta franchise. And it was fun because, again, nobody, Patrick, saw this coming with the Braves. And, man, they did it. Again, some of those home runs last night, it was neat to see Freddie Freeman get one late in the game, show a little bit of emotion. Jorge Soler, again, MVP. And, I mean, I don't even know how to describe the first home run he hit. And then, look, I'm not a huge fan of pimping out a home run, but that ball was hit so far that I think he actually maybe undersold it when he turned around and smacked his chest and looked into the Braves dugout and said, "We've got this thing."
Did we ever get a distance on that thing?
I heard 446.
446. Goodness gracious. Yeah, if you go ahead and do that, I think you're feeling pretty confident. How many home runs did he hit in the World Series? 3 go-ahead home runs. Is that what it was?
Is that what it was?
I think I saw that stat pop up on the monitor. I could be wrong. I wasn't watching with the volume, and I just looked up and saw just an absolute rocket leave this park. So, I mean, he was just a beast. I didn't even know he was. Was he that good all season, was he one of those guys that just really stepped up in the postseason? Because I had not followed him, I had not really heard his name mentioned a lot, but you just every time that he was at the plate, it seemed like in the World Series he was hitting an absolute bomb.
Well, I mean, certainly you're talking about a guy. He's a big boy. I don't know if you guys really noticed that. Watching on television at times doesn't do justice to the physical size and nature of guys. But I think it was post-game when Ozzie Albies, I believe it was Ozzie Albies, was standing next to him, and you could tell there was a significant height and just physical difference. And Soler, 6'4", 230 pounds, had 27 home runs this year, had 70 RBIs, only batted .223 on the year. I don't know the exact stats from when he came over mid-season, but certainly a guy that ends up making a tremendous impact with the Braves coming over from Kansas City. Here's the exact stats, actually, Patrick. With Kansas City, was batting 192 mid-season with 13 home runs. He arrives and in 55 games with the Braves, bats .269 with 14 home runs. So kind of got it going with the Braves, and certainly is a guy that will now go down after that home run as a Braves legend, so to speak, I guess, or just go into Braves lore with a monstrous home run there in the third inning that really ignites the Braves on to their second World Series.
I think if you win a World Series MVP, you can officially go in as a Braves legend. I think that would be fair at this point. Was he an expiring contract guy? Like I saw Heath's tweet that said, "Don't worry, just celebrate this and don't worry about what comes next." I was like, I don't even know what that means. I wouldn't be worried about what comes next, but I guess that means that they're about to lose a lot.
I think the big one is Freddie Freeman. A lot of people are worried about the Freddie Freeman, contract and what's going to happen with him. I can't sit here and tell you I've paid enough attention to the Braves front office and financial situation to tell you where they're at. Obviously, they've tied up a lot of money in Ronald Acuna and Ozzy Albies, the guys that they thought were or think that are the cornerstones of that franchise. How much is left, and what can they do, and what is Freddie Freeman willing to do moving forward? I think raises big questions. But Freddie Freeman, who's been with the Braves for 14 years now, and Patrick, again, I don't know if you got to hear it. You might have got to see it, but kind of the emotions of Freddie Freeman in the post game interview with Ken Rosenthal there, and just what it meant to him. Dansby Swanson, an Atlanta native, kind of growing up. I believe they said about just a couple miles now from Truist Ballpark, and what it meant to him. So financially, I couldn't start to tell you where exactly the Braves are at and the contract situations. I haven't paid attention to that in years. Major League Baseball is funny that way, and that there doesn't seem to be any limit on money. It's just if you can print it, you use it, and if you use it to buy the absolute best players possible. So what happens next? I'm with Heath on that. I didn't see that tweet. It's hard for me to believe the Braves will not find a way to have Freddie Freeman finish out his career in Atlanta. I would assume there will be a coming together of the minds in the coming months once the celebration dies down just a tad to make sure Freddie Freeman is still an Atlanta Brave, because I was going to say he might not be the most talented player. Maybe that goes to Acuna when Acuna is healthy or something. But Freddie Freeman is Mr. Brave right now. He is there, up there. I think there's no question with the all-time great Braves, and will go down in that manner. So I find it hard to believe, Patrick, that they won't find a way to lock him down for the remainder of his career.
Okay, because I don't even know. Yeah, I wasn't sure if their ownership is considered to be cheap, or they're willing to spend, or what the deal is. But Freddie Freeman's just one of those guys that you really don't want to see wear another team's uniform. Jen and I have both seen it this year with Rizzo and Schwarber. Well, I guess Schwarber was already, but Rizzo wearing another uniform. Max Scherzer, I thought he was gonna end up hoisting a World Series trophy in a Dodgers uniform this year. And yeah, Freddie Freeman, you can't picture him anything other than a Braves uniform. So I have to imagine that he'll be willing to work with them, and that they've got to just do something to make him happy and keep him in that uniform for the rest of his career.
803-404-6100. A lot of you weighing in this morning, and we will get to more stuff going on the college football playoff committee. Patrick, we'll get I said it in a tweet last night. They were going to do something wacky to make us talk about them this morning, and they did it. In my opinion, they did it. I don't know how serious they are when they do their first college football ranking, but we'll get you that as well. That occurred last night, kind of got lost in the hullabaloo that was the Braves winning their second World Series, but we'll get into that college football playoff ranking. Coming up at 8:20 this morning, David Waters with Gator Breakdown. I was on his podcast last night. He'll be on our radio program this morning. We'll talk about those Florida Gators. Shane Beamer meeting with the media, not really revealing a quarterback. I don't know if I'm surprised by that. I would be shocked, though, if it's not Zeb Nolan this weekend. So we'll get in a little. Huh?
I thought you were up for the gig. Or
I've got a bad knee as well. Zeb Nolan and I are in the same boat.
Right.
We're really in the same boat. My meniscus. The only difference right now, he's had surgery on his.
Okay.
I'm just putting it off as long as I can. Like, I've never had surgery in my life, and
really
I've never gone under the knife ever.
Wow.
39 years. I've had a few broken bones in my hand, wrist. But I've never once been cut on, and now we're going to see how long we can play that one. I'm walking better.
Yeah.
I'm walking better. I mean, not running away from you quite at the same speed I used to when we started this program. But, we'll get into that. David Waters at 8:20 this morning to talk a little Florida Gators and South Carolina Gamecocks. I see Gamecock Larry is on the phone. That can only mean predictions galore, and I bet he's willing to talk about the Braves. Something tells me he's ready to talk about the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs and the Atlanta Braves. We'll get to that as well. So much to get into this morning. Hope you're doing well. Again, the live stream up and running. RL, Travis, DC's being the one wet blanket. He says, I might be on an island, but I could care less about Major League Baseball. Yes, DC, you're going to have to put up with that this morning. Craig, Anthony, Steven,
Not on an island, though. I could care less about Major League Baseball, too, but still happy for the Braves.
There you go.
Got to talk about it.
Two wet blankets this morning. Well, we will talk about the Braves, some college football news. Again, plenty of stuff to get into this morning. You can join us on the live stream. Go to the 107.5 The Game YouTube page and check us out there. You can go to the Facebook page as well. Twitter, another option where you can go and view the live stream if you want to do that. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
More of the early game coming up on 107.5 The Game.
All right, that should take care of audio from my computer. I got to see if we've got the do what?
One guest today, right?
Well, I was looking for the schedule. I thought we had the doctor today, but maybe it's tomorrow. I didn't get the text message.
I am with Travis on November 2nd. That'll always be, when the Cubs won the World Series. Travis,
of course.
it's my oldest sister's birthday, and it was just like 2 months after we lost my dad, and he was a huge Cubs fan. So that was really cool. So yeah, I'm with him November 2nd still, but yay Braves, but still a little bit goes to the Cubs.
Yay Braves.
Hey, it is cool. I mean, I'm excited for him. To me, this is kind of the local team, so I think it's awesome. But when they say, "Oh, it's been so hard and it's long awaited," I'm like, dudes, you guys don't get it.
No.
You didn't wait over 100 years.
I apologize. I'm looking for an email that gives me a schedule. And clearly I figured it would be a good idea to delete it.
I think I have it. Is it the one about the doc?
Yeah. Am I wrong? Is he not today?
I think it is.
It told me everything. I haven't. I'm going to text the guy now just to check.
Yeah, that's what I have is today. And then the next 2 weeks are pending.
Yeah. Who is the doctor today?
Walsh.
All right. Yeah, RL. I don't know. All right. I think other than that, I think now I feel like getting through that first segment is always the key here. And we went pretty long there in the first segment, so good to go now.
Yeah, did you see the exit velocity on that Soler hit was?
I did not see that.
109.6 miles per hour. Ripped it.
He is a monster. 6'4", 230 is a big boy.
Yeah.
Nothing super shocking. A lot of things were talked about that just didn't come to fruition. Maybe the one that did get done that was most surprising is Melvin Ingram.
Yeah.
Steelers kind of throwing in the towel.
Who was throwing in? Oh, who'd you say threw in the towel?
I guess the Steelers are if they're trading Melvin Ingram.
Platter.
Really, the Henry Ruggs story is the biggest story, and
Same stuff. Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
I would have expected.
Right. Yeah. Odell Beckham. Well, listen, you finally had Desean Jackson cut yesterday, Patrick. I think you'd been calling that one.
yeah.
OBJ's dad is out there tweeting that Baker doesn't throw the ball to OBJ.
Well, he doesn't. Whatever's it's not working in Cleveland. He's got to get moved.
Is there something you can do at this point?
No, that's you have to wait till March now. Yeah, so the Saints apparently tried to make a last-second deal for Odell too.
That makes sense.
Henry Ruggs, insane story.
My son is awake at 6:30 playing PlayStation.
That's impressive.
Dude, I tell you, the mildly funniest thing happened. I stopped at that Dunkin' Donuts in Lexington at 5:30. They weren't even open, even though they open at 5. Girl said the people had not arrived yet, so we went to the one down by the hospital, and I think the same lady who was behind me at the one in Lexington beat me to the one there, and she went to order something, and the lady's like, I heard the girl tell her, "Oh yeah, we're just making donuts right now.
Yeah.
We don't have anything.
Ovens aren't hot. Yeah, just making the donuts. It's like, no, you open at 5:30. You don't start at 5:30.
Tough.
You're up.
803-404-6100. How you can join us, 6:33 on a Wednesday morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen getting you through another edition of the early game. Hope you're doing well. The Braves roll last night 7-0 behind home runs from Jorge Soler, Freddy Freeman, Dansby Swanson, an incredible pitching performance from Max Fried. And around 11:40-ish last night, the Braves finish off the Houston Astros for their first World Series championship since 1995. If you want to weigh in on that, again, 803-404-6100, how you can do so this morning, the Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. The other news from last night, and Patrick, I find this more amusing than I do as serious sports talk radio discussion fodder because it's going to change. Everything's going to evolve. I said it yesterday on this program. I said it in a tweet last night. The College Football Playoff Committee typically does cool things with their first ranking, and I feel like they do it just to have us talk about the ranking on Wednesday morning. But last night they put out their top 25. You know, I don't. Was there a certain number where you drew the line and say every team after this number does not matter, or do you at least do that?
I would normally do that at probably like the 7 mark, but I mean, you have 2 undefeated teams at 8 and 9, so I don't know how far down you can really go and say this doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe that was their goal, is to make the whole top 10 matter this year, and they did.
I think, well, and I think we've kind of discussed it in the way college football is going, and you're getting one of those years that's very entertaining. We have some new teams in the mix. We have some of the traditional powers that are still up there. If you didn't see it, the top 10 last night, and I don't know if there's much to argue. Again, everything's going to change and evolve, and wins and losses, and so many teams have got to do so much over the month of November. But the top 10 last night: Georgia, Alabama was number 2, Michigan State 3, Oregon gets the number 4 spot in the initial college football playoff ranking. Ohio State, who's got that loss to Oregon, is at 5, Cincinnati at 6, Michigan number 7, despite the loss to Michigan State. Undefeated Oklahoma, 9-0 on the season. They're at number 8. Undefeated Wake Forest, 8-0 on the season, is number 9. And Notre Dame is number 10. There were some kooky other things just about the remainder of the top 25. Mississippi State in at number 17 with a 5-3 record. Wisconsin in at number 21 with a 5-3 record, and neither of those two teams really have impressed me all that much this year, Patrick. But I guess the selection committee may be trying to build up a case or a resume for other teams later on down the line. I'm not real sure what to make of it. Overall, again, and then I'll get your take on the overall rankings. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. I do feel bad for Cincinnati, and I mean, I thought they would be in the top 4 without question. Wins over Notre Dame. You know, say what you want about Indiana, but they did have the win over Indiana as well on the road this year. I don't know what else Cincinnati can do. I wasn't sure if Cincinnati would be in the top 4 after Thanksgiving if they were undefeated. I at least thought they would be last night. That was maybe the biggest shocker.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that everybody's talking about. I don't like putting undefeated teams below teams that have already lost games. I mean, I think it should be set up to the point where you're in there if you're undefeated, and you have to lose your way out of the top 4, not continue to earn your way into it. I mean, I guess from 6, Cincinnati's probably still got I would say above a 50% chance of getting through to number 4. If you think that obviously Georgia beats Bama, Bama's out. That's a spot. Michigan and Ohio State should solve that, but you can't guarantee that Michigan sitting at number 3. If they lose a close game to number 5 Ohio State, they could still be ahead of Cincinnati because Ohio State is ahead of Cincinnati with a loss. And I hate Oregon being at number 4. I don't know how that makes any sense. They lost to a bad Stanford team. This is all just because they went into Columbus and beat Ohio State, and which is an impressive win. But I mean, do we care? We should care about the results. What you do on the field should matter. And the fact that they're through after losing to I think 3-win Stanford team, it's just I don't like it at all. I think Cincinnati, I think Wake Forest, I think Oklahoma should all be ahead of a team that has a bad loss in their record.
I mean, again, you had the commissioner, Mike Oresco of the AAC last night. He was very upset. He told ESPN, these rankings, the more you look at them, they're indefensible. It's clearly a Power 5 invitational. We'll see what happens the rest of the year. Let's hope something changes in the way this thing is being viewed. Now, good news for him. He is going to a Power 5 conference. I don't know if he'll continue to have his team.
He's going to a Power 5 conference that currently has an undefeated team at number 8.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Oklahoma's there that far down. We've said it. I think both you and I have said it. I know I have said it multiple times. Oklahoma's not been impressive. They haven't been impressive. They were losing to Kansas at halftime. That was really ugly. They struggled to get by Nebraska. Obviously trailed big to Texas and managed to rally. So it's not like Oklahoma at number 8 and sitting at 9-0 has been this incredibly impressive team. I continue to point toward the game against Baylor. Baylor's number 12 in the initial college football playoff rankings. I continue to point to that game in Waco as potentially where Oklahoma lets everything get away from them with a loss. But it is interesting because, Patrick, to your point, if Oklahoma wins out, I think they move ahead of Cincinnati on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Ronnie weighs in. Good morning. Could you see an instance where Wake Forest is left out if they go undefeated? Yeah, Patrick, even with Wake Forest at number 9, I see no way they get inside the top 4. No way. Even if they're undefeated, they will not get in. I just don't see it happening.
I mean, you start adding up what needs to happen for that. Like, they should not be ahead, or they should not be behind 3 teams that have lost games already. So you really can't even begin to speculate on what they would need to do. I mean, if they win out, presumably they'll jump ahead of the Big Ten team that loses out of all this mess. Like, one of these 3 Big Ten teams in the top 7 is going to come out of this with 2 losses, right? Unless, I guess there is a way that they could all come out with 1 loss. If Ohio State beats Michigan State and then also beats there's no way. One of these teams is going to have 2 losses, so they'll jump ahead of one of the Big Ten teams, but that's probably going to be as high as they go. Like, Cincinnati's not going to lose again. Oklahoma is probably going to lose, so maybe Wake Forest jumps above one of those. But even if Bama loses the SEC championship to Georgia, they'll probably still end up ranked ahead of Wake Forest. So I'm with you. I don't think there's any way that Wake Forest is going to climb their way in, unless they're super impressive and just really destroyed North Carolina this week.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of, that was the Mississippi State thing caught me off guard, and I felt like it was more of like a testament to, like, all right, here's why Alabama's number 2, because look, they've got wins over number 16 Mississippi, number 17 Mississippi State. That they're going to play number 1 Georgia. I felt like it was more of a setup for Alabama to be at number 2. Now, I will say this. If you put Alabama, in my opinion, Patrick, and this is where the college football playoff becomes such an interesting conversation, and we had it a little bit, and I had it, I think, more on Heath's show. But when we talk about a Wake Forest or a Cincinnati getting into the college football playoff and say, do you want your traditional powers or do you want new blood? Because I understand the concept, and I totally agree with people who say you still play the game. Anything can happen. And there's a lot of you out there, I've noticed this brought up more in the last 4 or 5 days. I get that, Alabama and Cincinnati in a 1-game showdown, which is what college football is, a 1-game play-in, Cincinnati could win. Would they win in a 7-game series, kind of like we just saw in baseball? No, probably not. But in 1 game, Cincinnati or Wake Forest could take down Alabama. But if you look down these top 8 rankings, if you put Alabama against, I'd say, anybody outside of Ohio State right now on a neutral field, and they'd probably still be favored against Ohio State. Do you got Alabama being an underdog to any of the teams in the top 10 outside of Georgia on a neutral field?
No, I was going to say they're probably a double-digit favorite. If they're playing Cincinnati on a neutral field, they've got to be a double-digit favorite, right?
If they play who?
If they play Cincinnati or Wake Forest. I mean, if they play Wake Forest, they're probably a 13.5-point favorite at least.
I was thinking 17 and a half. Yeah, somewhere in there. 803-404-6100. Gene weighs in. So undefeated Clemson would have gotten in, but Wake Forest would not. Yeah. I mean,
I don't like it. I do not like it. I'm with them.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is. It's that's how it would. It's reputation. I mean, look at these rankings, and where you see some of these teams are at. Michigan State, is Michigan State's wins that much more impressive than Cincinnati, in your opinion, Patrick?
One of them is the Michigan win.
The Michigan win.
That's it. Yeah.
But then again, you've got Cincinnati going on the road and beating
a top 10 team in Notre Dame. Yeah.
So 803-4
thumping a top 10 team in Notre Dame too. Cincinnati dominated that game.
They did. 803-404-6100. How you can join us this morning again. Bill Gunner, Patrick Brett, Jen Jensen getting you through. Coming up at 8:20 this morning, David Waters joining us from Gator Breakdown. We'll get a taste of what is going on down in Gainesville with Dan Mullen and the Florida Gator team. So you can hear that right here this morning. Coming up here in a few minutes, Gamecock Larry will give us his prediction. Got a feeling that could go a certain way. And we'll continue on. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
This is South Carolina head women's basketball coach Dawn Staley, and you're listening to the home of the Gamecocks, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Oh, the celebrating probably very intense at your house last night if you were a Braves fan. Maybe some popping of the champagne, maybe some dipping of the 7-bean layer dip that you like to enjoy, maybe some mess on the carpet, the rugs, the tile. Now would be the day to call Zero Res. Get them out before Thanksgiving. Get that house cleaned back up. 803-262-4020. Schedule your Zero Res cleaning today. It's time to get them out and get that house looking nice and clean with the Zero Res patented technology, ZR water that uses high pH electrolyzed water, not harsh chemicals. No sticky, soapy residue gets left behind. It's so good that it has its own name. And again, that is ZR water. The technology is incredible. It's scientifically proven to get your carpet, rugs, tile, and upholstery insanely clean. I cannot recommend enough just how great I think the pros at Zero Res are and why you need to give them a call today and set up that cleaning. 803-262-4020. You can book online, zerorescolumbia.com right now. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $119 when you mention my name, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. Again, 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $119 just by knowing my name. It's not a difficult name to know. And the radio station, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. 803-262-4020. Call Zero Res today or book online, zerorescolumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Yeah. Let me check that schedule.
Only on the live stream, Craig. I mean, I don't know if he's going to bring it up or not. Fortunately, there's really not much to say other than that's terrible situation, tragic, and could have been avoided.
Yes, I got the coffee, but it was quite the contest to get it. I mean, I get getting up early. Trust me, I understand. But Dunkin' Donuts is a very interesting. It's a very interesting place when it comes to being. They're supposed to open at 5 a.m. and I think they've just flat out given up on opening at 5 a.m.
This is my note to Duncan this morning on the Twitter DM. Just a very lengthy, like, you guys need to get it figured out.
I don't know if it's all the Dunkin'. I mean, I can't speak and say it's all the Dunkins, but
they have two right now that you go and they say, we're open at 5 or we're open at 5:30. Well, that means everything that's on your menu is supposed to be available when you open. That means employees might have to get there a little early. I
mean, it definitely works for Starbucks. Starbucks has their people there.
Exactly. I used to work fast food, stuff like that. You have everything ready so that when people start ordering when you open, it's kind of not rocket science.
The donuts are delicious, though. You got it.
All right, head back in.
(803-404-6100). How you can join us this morning. Braves win the World Series last night, 7-0. An absolute domination there of the Houston Astros. They win 4-2 to clinch the first World Series since 1995. College football playoff rankings out as well. Georgia number 1, Alabama number 2, Michigan State 3, Oregon 4. We'll continue to get into that. Let's get out to the Love Chevrolet phone lines. Gamecock Larry has waited patiently, I'm sure, to talk about the Atlanta Braves, who you stayed up all night watching. What did you think about the Braves? Oh, you're making people so unhappy with you right now. You're making people so unhappy with you right now. So many Braves fans that want to embrace you and hug you, and now you're just telling them you don't even care about their team. I want to tell him that, not me. Hey, is that Mike over there in program 3? Good phone call. We look forward to your phone call the rest of the week. We didn't get that prediction. We'll get to it. We'll continue on. Braves win the World Series. College football playoff rankings are out. Plenty to discuss. You're listening to the early game, almost 7-5 the game.
Yeah, I can't figure that out because he's in 3.
Say that again.
Yeah, he's in 3. The live stream is in 3.
I don't hear you now.
So I don't know why you couldn't hear him because everything, the pots that we need are all in program 3.
All right, we'll look into that. We don't know. This is why we need Patrick here in studio. He is our genius.
Excuse me.
Patrick, would you have an explanation for why nobody could hear the caller? Anything that you could think of? Why nobody could hear Gamecock Larry? Anything you could think of?
Yeah,
Jen says they were all in. Jen says they were all in program 3.
We probably didn't switch on the live stream the program. This one, the early game one. We probably didn't unmute that one.
That right. So that like that.
Yeah, but we got to mute you and unmute the live stream.
That's why we need Patrick here. That's Patrick comes in so handy. Got it. All right. Apologize. Don't worry. No offense to Gamecock Larry. Y'all didn't miss much. I got to admit, I was trying to figure out what exactly he was talking about. What was he talking about? Being put out to pasture?
Yeah, I don't know if he was, I think he was under the weather, but it sounds to me like he has a home health nurse now, so he doesn't always have to go out, which that's awesome. Good for him. He's still kicking, so. But he doesn't care about
Major League Baseball, or
yeah, he doesn't care about the Braves, but he does but he doesn't care about the Gamecocks and stop talking crap about them.
And yeah. Although I didn't get that, and then Adam, you're right. Adam at least heard it because there was something about we can't talk about players because we haven't seen the old players. I didn't quite get that one either.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Get your lives.
We'll try and get to some of these text messages. Alabama fan Todd, of course. Weighing in with his Alabama take. There we go. All right.
Do we get a confirmation on doctor? Is that happening today?
I mean, the email says today. They say tomorrow, but we got a little bit of an issue because I got JoJo English. I got him booked for 7:30 tomorrow to talk a little Gamecock basketball. And then if I can remember to send Brian Edwards a message tonight, we'll have him and Kerry Tharp. So I'm seeing if we can move the doctor to Friday. Do the doctor on Friday with Chris Deering.
Or just get him up early.
This is where you get the true now behind the scenes with the early game. You get to see all the discussions that go in behind the scenes on how we actually do things.
And it's probably pretty boring.
Pretty entertaining. Yes, I was going to go entertaining.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Look at you, glass half full.
It's enough coffee this morning. This guy on Twitter says Gamecock Larry just said he was being put in hospice. Is that what you got out of that?
No, I'll go back and listen. I didn't hear that at all. I thought it was just like he had home health coming. Yeah, I'll go pull that.
All right.
You guys are up.
You got that on?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Atlanta Braves last night, first World Series since 1995, and it started with Jorge Soler in the third inning hitting a monstrous home run. I believe that, it left the park, right? Like he hit it out of the ballpark. He hit it out. Like the way I don't know the exact dynamics of Minute Maid Park and what exactly is like in left field, if there's a concourse back out behind that big wall or whatever, but the way it looked is that he hit it out of the ballpark.
Like somebody's windshield probably got nailed.
Yeah, or somebody was just wandering down the street. You know, it'd been a nice night with maybe their significant other. They were wandering down the street after a nice dinner and get clunked in the head with a baseball as they're just wandering down the sidewalk outside of the stadium enjoying the evening. It was a monstrous blast. And again, I'm not familiar with the exact dynamics of Minute Maid Park and what's beyond that wall in left field, if it's concourse and concessions or if it is the actual like end of the ballpark and it goes straight into the street. But wherever it went, it was monstrous, and the Braves would roll. Max Fried last night, 6 innings, no earned runs, no walks, struck out 6, a marvelous performance. And a lot of happy Braves fans this morning to celebrate the second World Series for the Atlanta Braves in their time in Atlanta. So really neat, cool story there. Other news from last night, Georgia on top of the college football playoff rankings. It was, again, I don't want to Patrick, I don't want to overdo these rankings, and I don't care to come in here and be all fired up and be like, oh, Oklahoma at 8 and Cincinnati at 6 and Ohio State, who I think is playing better than Oregon, at 5, and everything's going to change. Everything's going to. You mentioned it. Michigan State is at 3 right now, but they still have to play Penn State and Ohio State. Alabama and Georgia appear to be on a collision course to play each other. Alabama still does have to play Auburn, and Auburn appears to be getting better each and every week, and that game will be at Auburn at the end of November. Oregon's still got to fight through several games. Michigan's got to play Ohio State. Oklahoma's got to get past number 12 Baylor. Patrick, a lot's going to change, bottom line, with these college football playoff rankings between now and the first. Well, I think it'll be the first Tuesday in December when we get the final rankings.
Yeah, a lot's going to change. But the way I see it is that if you're in, the teams that should be in are the teams that all they have to do is win out and they'll make it. So as it stands, if Oregon wins out, they'll still get in. They'll still get in with that Stanford loss, which I don't like. I mean, there's going to be. Do you think there will be 4 undefeated teams at the end of the year?
When you say
Georgia,
you mean after the championship weekend?
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I no.
It's kind of hard to believe that Wake Forest is going to make it through undefeated. Who else?
I think Wake Forest loses to Clemson. That game is at Memorial Stadium. I think Clemson loses, or excuse me, Clemson beats Wake Forest. They pull it together that particular week, even though Wake Forest would seem like they could outscore Clemson. Look, would any of us really be shocked if Georgia lost a very close one to Alabama in the SEC championship game? I wouldn't be shocked if that happened, if Alabama put it together and found a way to beat Georgia. I can't see Michigan State beating Ohio State here in about 3 weeks. That leaves Cincinnati would be the best chance, although wouldn't be completely shocked if they slip up and lose against SMU or Houston at some point. It's really difficult to go undefeated. Oklahoma, I think, would stand the best chance, but still, again, they've got Baylor on their schedule, who's at number 12 in the college football playoff ranking, and they've got number 11 Oklahoma State. So they've got 2 teams there that they've got to get through that are inside of the top 12. I think Oklahoma State is in Norman, though, so I like Oklahoma's chances a little bit more there, and I think Baylor's a little bit better than Oklahoma State. But there's your 2 teams kind of there that could trip up Oklahoma. I think there's a better chance of nobody being undefeated than there is of having at least 2 teams undefeated. And those 2, Patrick, that I'd probably lean to would be Georgia and Cincinnati. But I think there's a better chance of nobody being undefeated than I would say even of 2 teams being undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma could slip up because they haven't looked good, but they have been looking better with Caleb Williams than Spencer Rattler. The offense is actually putting up points, but the way it seems like Oregon, some people think Oregon's going to lose again. I really haven't looked at their schedule. Have they really been that dominant that they just look like the 4th best team in the country? I've not seen that at all. Their offense has sputtered at times. They're not just this juggernaut out there crushing teams, and they slipped up one day in Stanford and blew it all. But that's just they do not deserve to be up there. And 8 and 9 for undefeated teams. If you don't believe Oklahoma and Wake Forest are going to win out, just put them at 3 and 4 or 5 and 6 or whatever. And as soon as they lose, bump them out because you say they're not that good. But you can't just preemptively say we don't think they're that good. They're probably going to lose, so we'll just put them at 8 and 9 and we'll readjust later if they continue to win games. You can't knock a team. I don't like the idea of a 3 or a 4 or 5 or 6, one of those first two out, getting bumped down without having lost the game, which you're putting them in position to happen.
Yeah, again, Oregon, no, they were obviously fantastic against Ohio State early in the season, and that's earned them a bunch of credit. But at the end of the day, Anthony Brown has not been that impressive. Oregon has kind of slipped by a couple teams here in the last few weeks. The Pac-12 is not all that strong. We'll see. We'll see if they kind of continue to manage. And what I'm interested in is kind of to what you were mentioning regarding the college football playoff is how much do these teams change over the next 4 to 5 weeks, and how much is the committee willing to change with them? Look, we've seen in the past that the committee will set these things up whereas teams win. If Oklahoma were to beat both Baylor and Oklahoma State, two top 12 teams right now, Oklahoma's going to be in the college football playoff. Georgia or Alabama right now, barring a massive slip up before the two teams play each other, one of those two will be in the college football playoff. It's hard for me to believe that there won't be a Big Ten school, whether it's Michigan, if they can run the table, whether it's Michigan State, if they can run the table. I say Michigan. The only reason I say Michigan is because if Michigan runs the table and wins out, it wouldn't surprise me to see Michigan State lose to Ohio State and Penn State, have 2 losses. Michigan run the table out, beat Penn State, beat Ohio State, and then they're the ones that sneak into the Big Ten championship game. And then obviously you've got Ohio State, who's undefeated in Big Ten play. So one SEC, one Oklahoma if they're undefeated, one Big Ten. And now you try and start figure out who gets that 4th spot. Is it the other SEC team if Georgia loses? Could an undefeated Cincinnati get in? Could a 1-loss Oregon get in? Would Wake Forest be considered? A lot to figure out there. The good news is there's no need to get completely worked up about it this morning because everything is going to change and evolve over the next 4 or 5 weeks. There will be teams that lose. You just mentioned it. You agree with me. Better chance that nobody's undefeated as opposed to even 2 teams being undefeated when we wrap up November, right?
Not 2 teams. If you said there's a better chance that no teams are undefeated than all 4 of the college football playoff spots are occupied by undefeated teams, I would agree with that. But no, I think there very well could be 2 or 3. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's 3 undefeated teams.
It just feels like there's
Oklahoma's going to be favored in every game they play. Will they slip up? Possibly, but they haven't so far. There's only 4 games left. I mean, they're going to be hyped up for those big games. They're not going to sleepwalk into a bedlam. They're not going to play like they did against Kansas. I wouldn't be surprised for 1 second if Oklahoma was undefeated by the end of this. Yeah. And just not impressive. The most unimpressive undefeated team we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's again a lot will change. A lot will continue to change and evolve here as we go through the next several weeks. I mean, this weekend alone, pretty entertaining week. We haven't really gone through the schedule for the coming weekend. We'll get into that maybe a little bit. There was some MAC football on last night. I got to admit, one of the few times I never got into the MAC football last night. Maybe some of you did. Ball State defeating Akron, Ohio, knocking off Miami of Ohio, that big battle that takes place, and Eastern Michigan, a 3-point winner over Toledo. You actually had 3, at least. I didn't even know this until I just looked, Patrick. 3. It looks like 3 entertaining games, a 6-point game, 6-point win by Ball State, a 2-point win by Ohio, and a 3-point win by Eastern Michigan. Get fired up, sports fans. MAC football is back on a Tuesday night. 803-404-6100. The trade deadline was yesterday, Patrick, and there was also some bad news, some horrific news in the NFL in regards to Henry Ruggs Jr. You're kind of our NFL expert. Number one, the trade deadline yesterday. Locally, the big news, Melvin Ingram being sent from the Pittsburgh Steelers to the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, off air on the live stream, you mentioned earlier you thought this was a sign the Steelers are just kind of moving on, or what did you make of Melvin Ingram now becoming a Kansas City Chief?
Well, Melvin Ingram has been playing pretty well. I mean, for someone who was just sitting there as an unsigned free agent until right before the season started, he played well for the Steelers. So I think it was just a 1-year deal that he was on, and the Chiefs just sent over a 6th-round pick to get his services for the rest of the year. So I think the Steelers might be just mailing it in. They're saying this is the last year of Big Ben. Let's just let him chuck it around. Who cares how good we are? Just accumulate picks and do what they can. So it's not like necessarily a massive needle mover, but Melvin Ingram's still got a lot of good football left in him, and the Chiefs are just horrendous on defense. So they're going to potentially have to if not win out, then very close to win out if they want to get certainly that first-round bye. But if they want to win their division or make the playoffs at all, they're not in a good place right now. So they need the defense to start gearing up. But Melvin Ingram really was the only kind of trade deadline deal. There wasn't anything big that's going to change the landscape of the NFL yesterday. There was a couple things that were discussed. I know Deshaun Watson was discussed until the last minute, and I think the Dolphins ownership, Stephen Ross, just kind of wanted all these different contingencies in place for the trade. The Texans weren't willing to do it, and he said, let's just not. So hopefully for everyone's sake, this thing's dealt with. We have some sort of resolution by March, and we at least know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson, and they can potentially make something work, but it's not going to happen in season. I know that there was some last-second talk about Mitch Trubisky potentially being traded to Washington. That didn't come to fruition, so really all we got at the deadline was Melvin Ingram.
The trade deadline comes to a close yesterday, and then again one that you had mentioned, not necessarily a trade, but the Rams cut Desean Jackson after the trade deadline is passed. Any chance Green Bay's looking for wide receivers? Any chance that he ends up there? He's got to find a home at some point here in the next few weeks for a contender that could use another threat at the playmaking at the wide receiver position. Correct?
Yeah, I guess it's possible. I don't know if he'd want to do that. I know he had mentioned like in the past that he wanted to be in California. He's from that area, and he really valued that. So, I mean, he's on waivers right now. Anybody can claim him at this point. I don't know if he will get claimed. I think it was a salary related thing in LA. They just got too much money tied up to all their superstars. They can't really afford for him to be playing at the level he's producing. Plus, they drafted Tutu Atwell to do the same thing. Maybe his production will ramp up a little bit here. I doubt it, but because they really don't need him. Cooper Kupp's been so good this year. Robert Woods is a good player. The Rams will be okay. I just think Deshaun Jackson, maybe he gets scooped up. I doubt it. I think he's probably going to clear waivers, probably sign a lower level deal somewhere, and that'll be that. We've seen the last of the great Deshaun Jackson days. He's good for a 60-yarder every couple of weeks, and then he gets hurt, and he's just not on the field enough. So not necessarily a huge news. He's just a big name, but it was kind of, I think Tom Pelissero from Network put it out that said if they couldn't move him at the deadline, they were going to release him. So not a huge shocker there.
The other news, the non-trade that happened yesterday. Now we'll go to the offseason. Deshaun Watson. It sounded like the Miami Dolphins really tried to do their due diligence, do their homework, find out what they could about the Watson situation, try to even speak with him. I believe I saw where they were given permission to actually speak with him 24 hours before the trade deadline so that they could get some information. Watson does not get moved by the Texans, so he'll finish out the season. He'll at least finish out this season as a Houston Texan, and then we'll see what happens in the offseason. Again, Miami owner Stephen Ross was trying to make a deal, but again, did not feel comfortable pulling the trigger on it, given all the issues that Watson is currently facing legally. We'll have to see what happens with him. Now, where do you expect Deshaun Watson's offseason to go? Like, we don't know when this thing will be cleared up, and do you think it has to be completely cleared up before any team makes a move on him now that nothing happened by the trade deadline?
I think it does need to be cleared up. I mean, or at least close to it. I know there was word that they were reaching settlements on some of the cases. I don't know if there will be a couple people that don't want to settle or whatever might happen. But with 22 pending lawsuits, I don't think anyone's going to make a move if he can spend the rest of the season. He's not going to play. If the Texans just say you're not going to play, do what you will. Just worry more about your lawsuits than preparing for football right now. I would assume that by March he can probably get this thing cleaned up. I mean, that's 5 months by the time that the league year starts. I think it's March 6th usually for 2022. So I don't think it's an issue. The NFL doesn't want to do anything here. They don't want to have to act until they're absolutely forced to. So if he can get this thing resolved in some way, shape, or form, then he'll be able to get moved, and the NFL won't have to worry about it either. So I think that's going to be the goal until March, and it probably will end up happening. And it seems like it's just a matter of time before he ends up in Miami.
Of course, the other NFL news yesterday, extremely unfortunate news out of Las Vegas. He's now a former wide receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders. Henry Ruggs was released, but it came on the heels of an awful incident on what I guess what's today, Wednesday. So Monday morning, I guess yesterday morning, 3:39 in the morning, Ruggs, the former Alabama standout and draft pick of the Las Vegas Raiders, slammed at a high speed into the rear of a Toyota RAV4 in a residential area around 3:39 a.m. yesterday morning. Unfortunately, the passenger in the Toyota RAV4 was killed. Ruggs is facing two felony counts right now. He has been charged with driving under the influence of alcohol, resulting in death and reckless driving. He was released from the hospital. He and his passenger were taken to the hospital early Tuesday and then was taken from the hospital to jail, Patrick. The Las Vegas Raiders obviously gathering information on it, but quickly making the move to release him. And, it's an unfortunate situation. There's no excuse for it for Henry Ruggs. There's nothing to say there regarding it, but certainly you feel for the family of the young woman who lost her life in this. And some very sombering news yesterday in the NFL regarding an up-and-coming wide receiver whose career is probably over now and will probably face jail time.
Maybe. I mean, this has happened. 2008, I think it was when I was reading Dante Stallworth. The same thing happened with him. He ended up being getting a 1-year suspension, I think. Craig just mentioned in the live stream. Yeah, like we've seen the E60 or whatever it was. Maybe it was a college game day thing of Henry Ruggs' best friend died in a car accident on the way to AAU tournament, I think. And
that was true.
Yeah, it's a really likable kid, nice guy. That whole wide receiver room at Alabama, him and Devontae Smith were always a likable little duo. It's just, I don't know what else we can say about just it's so easy to get Ubers and taxis now, especially with the kind of money these guys have. It's completely inexcusable at this point, and it's tragic all around. As far as football, it just sucks for the Raiders because here they are. They were having a great season, and you blink, and now your head coach is fired, and you've lost a first-round pick. They traded Khalil Mack and all these assets, Amari Cooper and all these assets, and had 3 first-round picks in 1 year, and what they get for it, a running back in Josh Jacobs who's been banged up, safety in Jonathan Abram, who's now had to turn into a linebacker because he was so bad at playing safety, and Henry Ruggs, who they've had to get rid of. So, I mean, not good for the Raiders. Tragic situation for Henry Ruggs. Maybe they can get this dealt with, but it's going to be years before he can step back on a football field. So, just terrible story. Uber's so easy. I don't know how many times NFL athletes are going to get in problems, or professional athletes with huge amounts of money are going to keep getting into these situations, but I mean, hopefully it's just sends a message to everyone else. Just call an Uber. It's not hard.
803-404-6100. Again, how you can join us this morning if you want to do so on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. Again, college football playoff rankings out last night. Several of you weighing in on that. Again, they're interesting. That's all they are to me. They're interesting. I don't think anything's going to be made of them because so much is going to change. But a couple people weighing in. Anonymous texter saying, even if Wake wins out, I doubt they make it. Look at their non-conference schedule. I think Wake will lose at least one before the ACC championship game. Alan, clearly not an Oklahoma fan. He texted us yesterday or the other night, I guess, when I was doing Heath's show. He responded with the same text again this morning. He says, do we have to watch Oklahoma get blown out in the playoffs again this year? Bun weighs in this morning. He says, this year is the perfect argument for why an expanded playoff is warranted. Parity is fantastic. I do kind of agree with that. So you've got plenty going on there as people weigh in. Again, those college football playoff rankings out, and they're nothing more right now than fodder to discuss. That things are going to change and evolve as we move forward. 803-404-6100. If you want to weigh in again this morning, you can do so on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. The live stream up and running. Conversation bouncing back and forth there between Troy and RL, Chuck weighing in, Craig, Mac, all joining us. You can do so on the live stream as well. You can go to the Facebook page of 107.5 The Game. You can check out the Twitter page. We are on that as well, the 107.5 The Game Twitter page, and you can click the link and follow along there. You can go to the YouTube page and subscribe. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. How you feeling this morning? Got a little bit of knee pain, some cracking and popping, maybe pain due to knee arthritis or any injuries such as a torn ACL, MCL. I can relate to all that. LCL, meniscus, you get the point. It's time to call QC Kinetics and get an appointment, get over and let them get your quality of life back. All consultations are free. So make that phone call today, 803-281-6860. Regenerative medicine that is there to get you back to living your life. So if you've been feeling some acute sports related or musculoskeletal injuries and joint pain, now is the time to get in touch with QC Kinetics. 803-281-6860. Non-evasive therapy, no steroids, no opioids. This is the way you can get your life back by getting in touch with QC Kinetics. If you got that joint pain due to arthritis in the knees, shoulders, ankles, wrist, feet, why are you waiting around? Write this phone number down or put it in your phone right now. 803-281-6860. Again, all consultations are free. You want your quality of life back. Why not call QC Kinetics today? 803-281-6860. Again, the best part, non-evasive therapy, no steroids, no opioids. So again, if you're suffering from joint pain due to arthritis, the knees, the shoulders, the ankles, you got cracking or popping, you got pain due to knee arthritis, injuries such as ACL or MCL injuries, you need to call QC Kinetics today and get that fixed. 803-281-6860. Call QC Kinetics today and get your life back. Dr. Walsh now at 7:45 will be calling in, so you keep an eye out for him. Patrick, did you see that? We're going to have that. We're going to have the doctor on 7:45.
Okay. So we go to like 40 here.
Coming up in about 10 minutes, Dr. John Walsh with the Prisma Health Orthopedics will join us. We'll catch up with him to talk a little bit about some certain injuries. Then coming up at 8:20 this morning, David Waters of Gator Breakdown will join us to talk about the Florida Gators. Shane Beamer talking with the media yesterday. So busy show. We'll get to you if you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. I do want to get to some phone calls, but we got some things coming up here. Dr. John Walsh again joining us in about 10 minutes from Prisma Health Orthopedic, and then David Waters with Gator Breakdown at 8:20 this morning to get into the Florida Gators and what is going on down in Gainesville. If you want to join us again, 803-404-6100. Want to remind you, not all the time can you have a hot take and get in touch with Heath Klein, Jay Phillips, or myself, or Patrick Perrett. Sometimes you need to use the 107.5 The Game and Twin Peaks hot take hotline whenever you feel like it. It's right there for you to vent, take out your frustration. Just call 803-978-6654 if you need to vent. Sponsored by Twin Peaks for the men who never settle. Go see them down in the Vista at 600 Gervais Street. 803-404-6100. You can also join us on the live stream if you would like to do that. Patrick Waddy weighs in. Shane Beamer talking with the media yesterday and preparing South Carolina fans for the game this weekend against the Florida Gators. Not a lot said. South Carolina in relatively good health outside of Rick Sandage. Zeb Noland, I guess, according to Shane Beamer, if he can stand in the pocket and just throw a football, is healthy. That's not really what you want. You need somebody who can move around, especially given how the offensive line is played. But Waddy weighs in on the live stream and says, why do we believe Shane's honeymoon period seems to have ended before previous regimes? I think it's pretty simple. And I'm not saying this to be funny or smart. Patrick, I think fans are just kind of fed up right now. The last few years of the Will Muschamp era, I'm not saying it's fair to Shane, but the last few years have just bothered people. Look, South Carolina, this is as bad a stretch, Patrick, even by what I can remember, as South Carolina's gone through. I mean, there was certainly 0-11 or 1-10 and then 0-11, but things are entirely different nowadays. Social media is different. How you're able to consume press conferences and information about the team, and this is a bad stretch for South Carolina football right now, and people just want to see competitive football, and they're not seeing that offensively.
Well, do you agree with that, though? Like, what? I mean, I guess I've only been here for one, now two coaching changes, but Will Muschamp's honeymoon phase was non-existent because people didn't want him to begin with. So, I mean, how long should a honeymoon phase last? This is college. This is competitive college football. This is the SEC. It's not. I mean, there shouldn't be a honeymoon phase. I don't really get it. I guess I'm not getting the root of the question. Who had a long honeymoon phase? Steve Spurrier, but that was because the program was terrible and he made it into what it is now. So I'm not really following.
Well, I think with Shane, the lack of coaching experience does work against him here because, yeah, there's nothing to back it up that, okay, he can get it fixed if things go south. And right now, the offensive coordinator situation is certainly one where, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. And I don't think fans are going to handle it very well if Marcus Satterfield is brought back for a second year. You know, is it all on Marcus Satterfield? I don't think it is. I think there's quarterback issues. I think most people would agree with that. There are some issues at wide receiver. The offensive line has not been very good, but there still has been a lack of creativity in trying to come up with a game plan. You're 8 games in now. I couldn't tell you what the identity of the offense is aside from not really being able to score points. And so when people talk about Shane Beamer, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I will say this, though, to go back against Waddy on this, I don't feel like people are anti-Shane Beamer just yet as they had become with Will Muschamp. I think people are just put out with being blown out Look, South Carolina hasn't been competitive in 3 of the 4 losses. I mean, those games have been over. Tennessee was up 28-0 before the end of the first quarter. Texas A&M, South Carolina was never competitive. Georgia, we kind of knew what may happen. Georgia, you had a bad feeling there that one could get away from you, but the losses have not been competitive, and the wins, aside from Eastern Illinois, have not exactly been attractive either to watch.
No, they've been quite the opposite. I mean, you did not lead 1 second of. You actually were trailing for the majority of the East Carolina game and didn't lead for a single second of regulation against East Carolina team that's nothing special, and then you got outplayed for most of the game against Troy. So yeah, I get all that. I guess I'm just saying, like, what I don't really understand. Like, do we agree that Will Muschamp had no honeymoon phase? Like, when we use that phrase, how many do? I'm just nobody gets that anymore. To answer the question, it's the SEC and nobody gets that anymore. So I agree with everything you said. I just think, like, why should we even be there? We knew it's November. Like, the honeymoon phase was the summer.
Yeah.
That was the honeymoon phase. Now we're playing football. That's why it's over.
I think it actually, to an extent, is still there. Scott weighs in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line and says, if Satterfield is back next year, my belief in Beamer is going to take a big hit. Anonymous texter weighs in. I'm totally agree with you, Bill. If Coach Satterfield is brought back next year and we haven't won 2 out of the last 4, I think Beamer will lose the fan base completely. And I think that's part of it. I don't sense right now that South Carolina fans are necessarily upset with Shane Beamer. I do sense that they are anxious to know what his decision with the offense is going to be when we get past the Clemson game. All right, you're out. You're past the bye week. No changes are made. Marcus Satterfield's still the offensive coordinator, and I'm okay with that. I'm not saying it's the best decision. I'm not saying that you out there can't be upset with it. I'm just saying I personally am okay with that. You're not going to make a change mid-season. All right, that's okay. But it's not going to happen now. There's nothing in the Florida game that will happen that'll change my opinion of if something goes bad, which it may do. You go through the next 4 games. It will be after those 4 games, after Thanksgiving, when a lot of people will look at Shane Beamer and go, okay, your defense was better than expected, or at least you got more out of it than maybe we expected. What are you going to do to fix the offense? Because fans they're paying top dollar. They're paying their hard-earned money, and they want to see success.
They want to see points. Yeah.
Points.
I think it would have been a little unreasonable to expect Beamer to fire his first-year offensive coordinator in his first season when you don't have a talented team and the offensive line is terrible. I mean, 8 games into his first season on a bad team with very low expectations to begin with, that would have been a bit unreasonable.
803-404-6100. We'll continue on with this conversation. Up next, Dr. John Walsh with Prisma Health Orthopedics. We'll talk a little bit about hand surgeries. Zeb Nolan dealing with one of those and how quickly you can come back from those. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game.
Bill, you got to unmute yourself. Bill, you got to unmute yourself. Bill, unmute yourself. Not listening. Clearly the speaker's not on. Bill.
All right. Like we
unmute.
Yeah, no problem, Waddy. Good little discussion. Patrick, I feel like we've done a good job of bouncing around this morning. A little NFL talk, college football discussion.
Bill, you got to unmute your mic.
Is that better instead of cutting this off?
Yeah.
Cutting this off and just going to.
Well,
so we've done a good job of bouncing around this morning, hitting several topics, not staying on one. I did hate that of all the things last night, Patrick, I know that nobody else would care, but it was not the night to watch the Mavericks and the Heat. But I did want to get into the Mavericks and the Heat last night with Jimmy Butler and Luka on NBA TV, but it was not an NBA night. Well, that was actually probably a pretty good NBA game. Chuck, I do agree. They've got to get the quarterback situation has got to be fixed to some extent.
And would that be appealing to a quarterback to be like, man, get a 5-star in here where you can be the face of this program, like you can be responsible for turning? I mean, is that a selling point at all?
It is to certain kids. I mean, you're not going to go find a kid from Florida or the Midwest or Texas who has a million other really good offers that South Carolina and being the face is a selling point, not when there's other better offers out there.
Right. Yeah.
Simply put, they're gonna have to hit on a quarterback. They're either gonna have to get a transfer that we didn't see coming, or they're gonna have to hit on a guy that kind of like Connor Shaw that then leads you to get better, more elite guys. I do wonder. I mean, this kid, the Bradford kid, Jaden Bradford over at Chapin. Yeah, Arch Manning is not coming. I think Arch Manning goes to either Texas or Georgia, to be honest, from what I'm hearing. Arch Manning is playing in the SEC. Is that the doctor there? 7:47 on a Wednesday morning. Hope you're doing well this morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen, rolling you through the Braves. World Series champions, second time for the city of Atlanta that they get to bring the World Series trophy home. We'll continue discussing that as they roll last night 7-0. But we get back out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Dr. John Walsh this morning joining us with Prisma Health Orthopedics. And doctor, I know that you're big into fishing. You're an outdoorsman. Are you a big baseball fan though? Or did you get into the Braves at all during this run? So far now, Patrick is a Nationals fan. I've had somebody weigh in on the text line that was a Mets fan, and you're a Phillies fan. So we've just covered the entire NL East baseball. There's no such thing as Marlins fans. There's no, even the one guy who dresses up as a Marlins fan doesn't go to their games. He goes to other games. So a Phillies fan. So you're familiar with the earlier. I used to own a bunch of Mike Schmidt cards. Pete Rose was a hero of mine. And that's the era you grew up there with the Phillies. Good deal. Dr. John Walsh joining us this morning. I need to remind you this coming Saturday, 101 Business Park in the Northeast, the Black and Blue Clinic for acute sports injuries. No appointment necessary. You can just show up if your child has played football the night before, suffered a minor injury or something you want to have checked out. Make sure you go over to Prisma Health Orthopedics, 101 Business Park Boulevard in the Northeast for the Black and Blue Clinic this coming Saturday morning, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And of course, don't forget to follow Prisma Health Sports Medicine on Twitter. Doctor, you specialize, I believe, in metacarpal fracture surgery, injuries to your hand. I've broken my hand several times, not for good reasons. I coached basketball, and when kids didn't box out, my hand may have found a door and resulted in an injury. But for athletes who want to come back from hand injuries, how difficult is that decision? What goes into looking at certain hand injuries? Zeb Nolan, the quarterback for South Carolina, dealing with one earlier this year, having his hand stepped on, and then trying to figure out when to get back and hold a football and be able to throw a football.
Does he do when he throws with that hand? Can we just run the ball more often? All of that stuff becomes part of the decision-making process. You know, you worry about how good is your backup quarterback, what point in the season is it, and it ends up being an answer that fluctuates a little bit based on the rehab, fluctuates based on other factors for the whole team and so forth. And that can be, it makes it interesting and makes it fun, but it's also for those that have to make big decisions about who goes back on the field. It can be a little bit frustrating too, because the answer is not always clear and sometimes it changes a little bit.
What in your opinion is the most difficult sport to come back from when you talk about a hand injury? I played basketball. Shooting a basketball is certainly a big part of using your hand. As I learned first, Bailey Harris would tell you that I never used my hand shooting a basketball, and that that's why I wasn't any good. But then you've got pitchers. We've talked about that. Pitchers having to hold a grip of baseball. Football, certainly a different sized ball that you've got to use to throw football. In your opinion, what is the most difficult sport to come back from when you suffer a hand injury?
Well, when you've got somebody who has to have a fair amount of finesse on the ball and it's their dominant hand. So you mentioned a pitcher, a quarterback, so somebody, who's playing basketball and is on their dominant hand, trying to get reasonable follow through. There's kind of almost no way to have one of those people play with any type of splint on. You just can't even put a little aluminum splint on the dominant hand of somebody who's pitching a baseball. So probably those are the ones that are hardest to get them back. Football is the one that it's entirely dependent on where you play on the field. So I don't know what Russell Wilson's injury was, but he just had the pin out from his finger. It's been all over Twitter and the news. And if he was an offensive lineman, his ability to get back on the field would be totally different than if he's somebody who's the quarterback.
Again, he's Dr. John Walsh joining us this morning here to discuss hand injuries. Why, you ask? Because we go to the experts. He has a certificate of added qualification in surgery of the hand. He is board certified in orthopedic surgery, and he's a Phillies fan. Now, does that also mean you're an Eagles fan as well, I'm guessing, or did you just discard them?
Well, unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, this year, yes, sir.
Now, the bigger Patrick, I think the bigger question is, are you a Flyers? Are you just a Phillies fan? Are you just a Philadelphia fan across the board? Are you because the Broad Street Bullies there? Patrick doesn't like you. He doesn't like the Phillies or any Philadelphia sports. Yeah, he's over there saying no on the live stream. So are you just a Philadelphia fan across the board?
Well, I am a Flyers fan, but I'm not as much of a hockey fan. But he probably remembers then Dave Schultz and Bernie Parent and that whole era when you described the Broad Street Bullies. So Yeah, that was when I was growing up, and they were a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I remember the snowballs at Santa Claus too.
Worst fans in sports, I have to admit it. Philadelphia fans.
That's hey, if when you have a degree like you have and you're able to take care of people the way you are with the certificate of added qualification and surgery of the hand, that's okay. We'll forgive you. You were okay. He's Dr. John Walsh joining us this morning, a team physician for South Carolina. Again, don't forget to follow Prisma Health Orthopedics. It's Prisma Health Sports Medicine on Instagram. You can check it out there. The Black and Blue Clinic this coming Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 101 Business Park Boulevard in the Northeast. Doctor, before we let you out there, just looking back, now also read that you are you're an outdoorsman, but you're also quite the fisherman. Give me the breakdown right now, because I was actually looking last night at the Lake Murray fishing report. Have you been able to get out on the lake in the last few weeks?
No, I haven't actually. I've been hunting in Idaho, so
Oh.
fishing has sort of been on a back door right now.
What was the specific? What were we hunting for in Idaho?
Elk and mule deer. I came home with a mule deer.
That sounds like a great time. Beautiful out that way. Hopefully the scenery was very nice.
It was nice. We had some tough weather, but I'll tell you, Idaho has two directions, straight up and straight down. It was a lot of work.
Dr. Walsh, thank you for joining us this morning. Good luck to your Eagles. Good luck to your Flyers. And next year, nobody's wishing you luck for your Phillies. I apologize. We enjoy having you, but we're not going to do that. Thank you for joining us this morning. I hope you have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, fellas. Take care.
Take care. Dr. John Walsh joining us this morning again. Big thank you to him for coming on to talk to us about hand and upper extremity injuries. He is with Prisma Health Orthopedic. Reminder, you can follow them on Instagram, Prisma Health Sports Medicine. And don't forget, if you suffer an injury in a football game on Friday night, or you've got some bangs and bruises you need to get checked out, the Black and Blue Clinic this Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 101 Business Park Boulevard in the Northeast. We'll continue on. College football playoffs, World Series, and more on the early game, 107.5 The Game.
Yep. That one. Well,
All
that
right.
was interesting.
Oh, that is a big. He is.
He looks like he might kind of know what he's talking about. Like if you really read over his resume, yeah, pretty sharp guy. See, now I could have gone into the two different hand.
Yeah, Manning. Let's see. Let's go back through some of the what y'all sent in here. Yeah, I got to remember. There's a little thing down here. I got to remember to unmute that so that you guys can hear our caller, especially David Waters coming up here in just a little while. I think I need to mute that now so there's not a feedback. Yeah, I think
that. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, it's just the one over here to my right.
Yeah.
This is where Patrick's so good when he comes in. Yeah, Waddy, Jaden Bradford. I really think he's the guy that South Carolina's got to focus on. They're not going to get the kid out of the upstate. I think he's going to go to Ohio State. I think they got him. And no, Jason, I don't think Ole Miss is going to get – I don't know if Lane Kiffin sticks around long enough for them to have a chance with Arch Manning. I think Arch – I think Steve Sarkisian's got a chance to pull him, go to Texas. I don't know if he'll go to Alabama either. Something about that doesn't seem right. Oh yeah, where is Polly this morning? Somebody check on the dog. Check on poor Polly. Yeah, Jason. Well, Trey, I'm in the studio now, as you can see. Lovely Gervais Street. Not quite the same. Not quite the same view. It's been windy out there the last few days. I gotta get the boat out of the water this weekend. Patrick, everybody wants to know, where's Polly this morning? What's going on with the dog?
Exactly.
I don't know if she's making this morning because normally my girlfriend would be getting ready for work right now, but she called out. We had a rough night.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
How did the what is it, the trivia do? Did y'all finish in the top 3 at least?
Yeah, we came in second.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they had like $12 buckets, and then 2 for $8 cocktails. So we had a bunch of mojitos, and then switched over to beers. And
so what were the trivia questions?
You know what? They were terrible. The sports category, I got all excited because the first sports category question was for the University of Tennessee, which came first, their volunteer nickname or the color orange? It's like,
what was it?
Volunteer nickname.
Oh.
It's not a
I could almost
question,
see that.
bro. What the movie, there's a James Bond question. What is the number that gives James Bond the license to kill?
007?
That's in 007?
It's what we all put, but it's actually just 00. The 7 is his whatever agent number, I guess, but the 00 is what gives him his license.
Oh, did anybody know that? That seems like
wow.
How about that?
Everybody got that one wrong, and there was one more that everyone got wrong. I can't remember what it was.
So I guess back to the question, you and the girlfriend had a long night. What's wrong with Polly this morning? I mean, Polly.
Well, the only reason she was out here the last couple of days is because my girlfriend left for work.
Oh.
So she couldn't just lay in bed, or she didn't want to. She likes to be around people. So now that she's got someone to lay in bed with, she's not concerned about. She's not.
Gotcha. So
You're
you're second on the totem pole is what I'm getting there. Okay. Yeah.
Does she not understand she's got celebrity status, so she does have to make appearances from time to time?
Does have to, yeah.
I think she will. I said that she needs to get a walk-in before the show ends so that we can go right to sleep. There she is.
All you need to do is get a couple pieces of food.
Yeah.
Drop them in a bowl.
A little bacon. Get some fixed bacon. Oh, no outfit this morning?
No clothes right now. No collar either.
Oh, boy, that is a big night.
Okay. If you see the collar on the ceiling fan, we'll know there's,
She had her Halloween. I think it was her Halloween collar. I need to get her a turkey outfit. I'm going to find her a turkey outfit for Thanksgiving.
Jen, I just sent you David Waters' phone number here for after this segment. I tell you, if we'll play the Braves coming back, play the Braves audio.
Yep.
Best tweet yesterday I saw was that the emotional support monkey needs an emotional support animal.
Yeah.
I think that died down just a tad, but yes, maybe that's what the emotional support monkey needed, its own personal emotional support animal.
That's funny. Well, probably definitely needs one after being terrorized by a kid. So we hear.
It did, yeah. It did sound more like the kid went in and started harassing it, didn't it? That was at least what I picked up a little bit.
Of course it did.
to at least let you look out the window there. What's the monkey on The Simpsons? I feel like that's whatever it was. The monkey off of The Simpsons that's always with Krusty the Clown.
We had a Simpsons question on trivia.
Oh, really?
Chief
Wiggum. Chief Wiggum. That is the call last night from Jim Powell on the Braves radio network. Atlanta 7-0 was never really a game. Jorge Soler just demolishes a baseball in the third inning to put the Braves up 3-0, and they would cruise from there. And that might have been the craziest part about last night, Patrick, is that I expected it to be a game. I expected the Astros to come out behind that crowd and give the Braves a good game. I wasn't sure if the Braves would win or not. I wasn't betting against them. I wasn't betting for them. I just thought it would be a good game. But Jorge Soler just crushes a baseball that lands somewhere out in the Gulf of Mexico, and the Braves just roll on 7-0 last night. 3 in the third, 3 in the fifth. They add on one more in the seventh, and Max Fried, fantastic last night. 6 innings, no earned runs, 6 strikeouts. Did not walk a batter last night. Did it on 74 pitches, Patrick, 50 of them in which he threw for strikes. And he threw 74 pitches, and I want to say about 19 of them came in the 6th inning, I believe, towards the end. I mean, he was cruising there for a little while and just absolutely dominated the Astro hitters, which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I kind of feel shortchanged that it was such a dominant effort. I mean, we got all the hype from Braves fans about, I'm worried about Max Fried. Like, there was absolutely nothing to worry about. He was awesome. It was, I don't know if it's an all-time pitching performance for a World Series clincher, but I mean, he was money. And what was the stat we had? Did somebody say 13? It's 2013. We haven't had a home winner since 2013.
Correct.
That's what we should have known. I mean, they just continue to win on the road, absolutely dominant. I feel kind of shortchanged.
The story of the Braves, remind me, Patrick, when the Nationals won the World Series, 3 years ago, it was June that they were right around 500, correct?
Yeah, they were 15-31.
15-31. So it was July this year for the Braves. I believe it was at the All-Star break that they did not have a winning record, and they make some trades. We had Jim Powell on again last week to kind of break down the series as they were going back to Atlanta, and he basically said it at the time when they made some changes there. They made the trades at the trade deadline. Jim Powell saying last week, didn't quite know if those trades would be successful. Didn't really know how they would affect the team. Man, I mean, you couldn't have done a better job of basically bringing an organization together. Brian Snitker deserves all the credit in the world. I think that's one of the best stories that I've seen in the last 20 or 25 years in terms of coaches. A guy who's been in the organization for 45 years, in his 4th full season as head coach, absolutely guiding and mentoring this team to a World Series. Freddy Freeman, absolutely fantastic, and hits a home run last night. It really is a feel-good, I think, for most people. And somebody hit us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line earlier, Patrick, and made a comment about this. And you and I think, have taken more notice of it in the last few weeks with Major League Baseball dying down and the playoffs kind of rising to the top and just a few teams being left. The Braves being the team of the Southeast. Again, it's not really like the Tampa Bay Rays or the Miami Marlins have a ton of fans. It's crazy that there's no other teams in South Carolina, in North Carolina, in Tennessee, in Alabama, in Mississippi, in Arkansas. The Braves are the team of the Southeast. And, man, I tell you what, it's an incredible story to see, and certainly was a lot of fun to watch last night.
Yeah, their influence really does travel a long way in this part of the country. I mean, I did notice, even in Nashville here, people that are Nashville everything, Titans fans, Memphis Grizzly fans, I guess, Predators fans, they're all Braves fans. Like, the Braves, if you're just going purely distance, they have to have the longest reach.
You would sure think.
Yeah, I mean, it's really – baseball is bigger down here than it is in the Northeast too, I think. I mean, at least participation levels for kids and things like that, I would think. And for there to only be one team is kind of crazy. But I mean, I guess that makes it even better for Braves fans. I mean, they own everything in the South. And I'm reading a little bit. I was reading about Alex Anthopoulos. Do you know he's Canadian?
I did not.
First Canadian general manager to win a World Series. And also, he didn't get to celebrate yesterday. He had to go to COVID protocol, so he wasn't able to be on the field to celebrate, which is unfortunate because, I mean, I don't know if he was the general manager of the year. I don't even know if they announced that, but it is pretty ridiculous when you look at Jock Peterson being the story of the NLDS, and then Eddie Rosario wins the NLCS MVP, and then Jorge Soler wins World Series MVP. Basically, your three offseason additions being the three biggest reasons for your each of your playoff rounds. Pretty ridiculous. I can't think that anyone's ever done a better job at a trade deadline, really, in the history of sports. You can't do much better than that.
I don't know how they do this. I mean, I understand kind of the concept and how they do it, but they're saying that Jorge Soler's home run was 446 feet last night. It felt like it was a lot further than that. Like it leaves the bat as soon as it leaves the bat, and he turns and looks at the dugout and is pounding his chest. It was a moment. It was Patrick, that's one of the more dominant, just like sports moments, things that have happened, whether you see a great catch or a great dunk, whatever it may be. That home run, you were doing trivia last night. You were at a bar or a restaurant. I don't know how many people were around you that were able to watch. And when that home run was hit, what kind of the reaction was, because I did see on Twitter, I think Matt Conley, writer for the Clemson Own 3 Sports website, was kicked out of his house by his wife because he jumped up and started cheering so loudly that he nearly woke up one of their children. And she texted him, if I saw this correctly, she texted him from upstairs and told him to pipe down or he could go outside.
Oh.
So
that sounds about fair. I haven't seen enough. I mean, it also looked like an awesome scene at the ballpark at Truist Park.
Yeah, it did. That looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the ticket price too. $75 to get on the field. It wasn't a crazy amount of people, but the field level, I don't know why you wouldn't just shell out the $75 to get on the field. The stands were, I don't know, about 70% full, 80% full. It was pretty impressive performance by Braves fans.
Just some numbers from last night. Again, Max Fried, that scary-looking ankle injury, one that made my ankle hurt when I was sitting in my living room. He would then go on after that particular play at first base, would retire 16 of 19 hitters after that. Another incredible statistic from last night. I didn't know this until I just read it. The Braves entered this World Series, Patrick, with 16 consecutive postseason appearances without a title. It's the longest streak of all time. That comes to an end last night. Again, Brian Snitker, 45 years in the Braves organization, but did not become the manager until year 40. So he has only been there only been the head manager for the last 5 years. Just some incredible things last night for the Braves, and a fun story to follow here the last few weeks. And now we'll head into the offseason. Braves fans can feel really good about themselves.
And now we can't continue to criticize Atlanta as a losing
right.
town.
Good point.
Can't do it anymore.
Good point. 803-40.
That's now reserved for Chicago.
Yes,
28-3 doesn't mean what it used to anymore.
Right. So, a lot of good things for Atlanta fans and Braves fans this morning. 803-404-6100 is how you can join us this morning. Coming up in about 10 minutes, David Waters of Gators Breakdown will join us. We will look ahead to this Florida South Carolina game coming up Saturday night, 7:30 at Williams-Brice Stadium. Temperatures expected to be extremely low. Again, yesterday, some NFL news. You had the trade deadline, the unfortunate news of Henry Ruggs also coming out as he was involved in a DUI that unfortunately killed a young woman. 803-404-6100. LJ called in earlier and wanted to weigh in on that. I did want to give him his opportunity. LJ, how you doing this morning? And thank you for being patient with me earlier when you called in.
I appreciate it, guys. Good morning and miss. But Patrick, good deal. You called Braves in 5 games. You're pretty close, buddy.
Let's do it.
But I was calling in about the accountability for these pro players. I know it's big money, and a lot of the owners want to have these athletes perform at the top. But when do we decide that, hey, you make a mistake like this? You know, we got kids, people that look up to these people. So they are role models, big time. They're in the limelight. And how hard is it to have a designated driver? Because the average person out here has that same wreck. Well, it ruins their lives, no matter, what. So is it fair to everybody else to sit back and watch these players just get a slap on the hand like Dante Stallworth and some others? And then you look at, like Ray Rice, what he did, but he ended up marrying the girl, Ray Cruz,
I think, and thank you for the phone call, LJ. I think, Patrick, you said it. And I was out in Las Vegas just 2 weeks ago, but it is the easiest thing in the world now is to be able to get on your phone and to order an Uber or have a designated driver or something like that. And so this is, it is unfortunate. There's no other way to describe it, but it's certainly something that was very avoidable, and it's probably going to cost Henry Ruggs. If I'm reading correctly, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I am an expert on Las Vegas criminal law, but from what I did read yesterday, I don't think Henry Ruggs is getting just a slap on the wrist for this. There will likely be jail time if I read this correctly with Nevada criminal law.
Yeah, that's a whole different discussion of
thank you.
Rich people not going to jail or not being punished the same as other people. That's a whole different thing. But the point is just, dude, it's so easy to call an Uber, and it always happens. Every year there's not involving death, but DUIs all the time for NFL players, and the NFL is trying desperately to get rid of this. Somebody's already mentioned the live stream. They have partnerships with Uber. Every team has a ride service that you can just call and they'll come pick you up. So much money goes into preventing things like this, and people still continue to make the same mistakes. And this one ended in tragedy. So, it's just terrible. It's terrible for everyone involved. And I don't know how many more times it's going to happen where people just don't figure out how easy it is to call an Uber. That's really just the bottom line. It's that simple.
803-404-6100. You can join us again. Thank you, LJ, for being patient with us this morning. If you want to weigh in, you can do so. Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. Again, coming up here in about 5 minutes, David Waters of Gators Breakdown. South Carolina, Florida. Patrick, I think we both in kind of all in right now on this, that Jason Brown needs to be the starter on Saturday night. Shane Beamer not really saying who the starter would be yesterday afternoon. There's part of me, but this is personal opinion. It doesn't matter to anybody else. I kind of wish he would have just come out and said, hey, we're rolling with Jason Brown this weekend. That's going to be the guy we're going with. Look, Zeb Nolan, Jason Brown, I don't know what game you play here with Florida in terms of confusing them or making them prepare for 2 quarterbacks. I think maybe inside the athletic building down there, they know who the starter is going to be. The players know. They can probably see who's taking first-team reps. Still, I don't know what good it does. Give him the confidence in public. Hey, it's Jason Brown's game. Say it out loud. Let him go with it. Zeb Nolan has done some okay things. I think that's about the best way to put it. Certainly I don't care if it's Vanderbilt or the JV team at Lexington or playing the 107.5 the game 30-year-old flag football team. If you can lead a touchdown drive in the final 38 to win a game, that's solid. That's worth it. He also did get him down the field to kick the game-winning. Zeb Nolan did get him down the field to kick the game-winning field against East Carolina. He's had some moments this year, but right now, that offensive line, you got to have somebody who can move around, and Jason Brown gives them that opportunity this weekend.
I don't know if it meant anything at all, but you know what it would do is actually excite the fan base.
It's true.
Potentially. And you're worried about fans showing up for this game. I'll be there Saturday night. I don't know what the crowd's going to be like. We've discussed this a couple times, but if you want to sell tickets and you want the environment to be good, you're playing a night game, you want your stadium to be rocking. If you can do anything to excite them just a little bit and maybe get someone to buy a ticket because they say, well, you know what, I'll go ahead and buy the ticket. It'll be Jason Brown's first start. Maybe it's if you're on the edge of maybe I'm going to go, maybe I'm not. It's going to be cold. Okay, well, it is Jason Brown's first start. This could at least be noteworthy. Do something to excite them. That nobody's getting excited by Zeb. He's done a couple good things, but largely it's been more bad than good, and a change needs to be made. It really doesn't do anything to announce it. Like, I agree with you. What is Florida going to watch? Are they going to go back and watch St. Francis tape? Are they going to watch him throw to E.J. Jenkins in the spring game? Or are they just going to watch the fourth quarter of Texas A&M 100 times? It's not going to change anything for their preparation. Just announce it, excite the fan base.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Artia on the live stream adding, say it's Brown, may also get a few more people in the seats as well. And then RL weighing in on the live stream. It's not even like our offense changes depending on the quarterback. We'll catch up with David Waters of Gators Breakdown. You can hear that right here next. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. There we go. Oh, got that one over there. All right. Oh, stayed up too late watching the Braves. Stayed up too late the previous night watching the Edmonton Oilers. Maybe tonight. Tonight needs to be an early bedtime night. It is. I don't know if y'all can see it is windy out there. So if you're watching, Gervais Street is quite windy.
Yeah, it is a little bit, isn't it?
It is. Looks windy out there.
Yeah, and I'm with York on the live stream. I agree. Like, there's only so many home games a year, only so many chances to tailgate. So, like, go live it up and enjoy, even if you don't win, you know?
I'm very interested to see. We have this. Hold on, I gotta get this guy's Twitter handle in. We have this soccer tournament this coming weekend, and it's calling for rain Saturday morning. If they'll bump the tournament back to the afternoon, which would definitely affect going to the game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm actually very interested. It would affect me going to the game. Not everybody needs to come watch my son play in his soccer tournament. But
I mean, that was how my day was mapped out. So
we will. There will probably be a mimosa or two in the parking lot, depending on the game. But I think it's calling for showers early in the morning. I believe that was at least what I looked at yesterday. Is that rain in the morning, but kind of clearing up in the evening. But it is going to be chilly. For people like me who consider anything below 60 chilly, although this morning wasn't bad. Patrick, how is it up there? Patrick, go off to check on the dog again. Whew, tomorrow the high is 50 with a 50% chance of rain. How's the weather up there, Patrick?
Cold.
Is it?
It's cold. Let's see. Right now, 39.
Wow, the weather's gone up a little bit on Saturday now. High 61. First part of next week looks good though, but tomorrow 50, a high of 50 tomorrow with a 50% chance of rain. Tomorrow will not be fun.
No, man, it rained my whole way up here too. I don't want it to rain on the way back.
What time are you gonna leave tomorrow to head back?
I'm gonna stop in Greenville for dinner probably. So I'm probably not gonna leave until like 10 or 11.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's gonna be chilly at game time.
Great.
It's gonna be chilly on Saturday evening. That sweatshirt you got on is gonna come in handy.
Nashville, Ty. I'm in
All right,
Nashville
David's ready.
for one more night.
And then Patrick, you said you're back in the studio on Friday morning?
Friday. Yep.
Okay. I'll see if I can remember to bring you guys the pretzel Cheez-Its combo.
Oh, the pretzel, Cheez-Its, popcorn oil.
I think the batch he made might be a little salty, but yeah, it's all right. Just drink
That
water.
person did text in and said they're gonna bring us some.
Oh, that stuff too.
I forget who that guy was. I gotta bring that back up. I gotta the grilled Cheez-Its.
Smoked, right? Is that what he did? He smoked
Smoked on the Traeger grill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounded pretty awesome.
Yes, Trey, I actually do. I do. I will. Yes. I sit outside most of the time, but I can go into the climate-controlled zone. Yes.
Well, I was just saying, and in the press box, it's not climate control. It's cold.
So open those windows.
Yeah, huh?
803-404-6100. How you can join us coming up here in just a minute. David Waters with Gators Breakdown. We will talk about the Florida Gators and what is going on down in Gainesville is right now. Look, nobody up here in Columbia seems particularly happy. It's weird. 2 4-4 football teams, and neither fan base seems all that thrilled with the current state of their program. South Carolina wasn't really expected to win 4 games. I know things have changed and evolved, especially when you look at the schedule throughout the season, but South Carolina fans not particularly happy. Florida fans less happy. It seems like. We'll catch up with David Waters here in just a second. First, let me remind you the Trans-Siberian Orchestra is marking their 25th anniversary of their first album by visiting Colonial Life Arena December 8th. This Thursday and Friday only. Tickets are $25. That's right. This Thursday and Friday, you can purchase tickets for $25. The Trans-Siberian Orchestra in town Wednesday, December 8th at Colonial Life Arena. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Family Promise of the Midlands, a charity that aims to help families experiencing homelessness in their quest to achieve sustainable independence. This Thursday and Friday, that's today and tomorrow for those of you that, like me, get confused with a calendar. Tickets are $25. Out to the Love Chevy phone lines we go. Good buddy of mine was actually on his podcast last night. Gators Breakdown. David Waters joining us this morning. And David, as you just heard me mention, South Carolina fans not particularly pleased with their football program, but Florida fans may be less pleased with their football program right now. What's kind of the mood, the attitude in Gainesville right now surrounding Dan Mullen and the Florida program from what you get from the fan base?
Yeah, well, and even more so than the 4-4 record, it's just how it looks. You knew the Florida in Atlanta last year playing in the SEC championship game, and that was right after a loss to LSU. That didn't look Florida, but of course, it wasn't going to look like it did with Kyle Trask and Kadarius Toney. But it's just been the little things that have been adding up all season long, things you've been able to count on in Dan Mullen's career. Game management, clock management, quarterback play, and it's all just came about turnovers. Quarterbacks throwing interceptions left and right. We haven't seen that under Dan Mullen in his time at Florida. Things you've been able to count on are no longer there. So with losing that type of talent and changing quarterbacks, the little things are adding up to now become big things. And that's a lot of the reason why Florida sits at 4-4 right now. So Florida, the different ways to look at it too. Florida's outgained every opponent they played this year and still somehow 4-4. So stats don't tell you everything, but also it lets you know that there's some weird things going on right now with Florida. When you right now outgaining every opponent you play and you still sit at 4-4.
Teams, programs occasionally have a bad year. That's acceptable. But to me, it feels like reading the Florida message boards, kind of talking with people down there. It's not the 1-year deal. It's a long-term projection that Florida fans and maybe even the administrative or the administration is taking when they look at Dan Mullen and recruiting. They look at Georgia, who they know they should be competing with. What is your take on the long-term projection, the next 5 years with Dan Mullen at the helm for the Florida Gators, if he makes it that long? Just because, again, you're competing with Georgia, and Dan Mullen's recruiting has been brought into question of late.
Yeah, well, look, I thought he was the best hire Florida could make in 2018 to get them out of the hole that they were in and fix the issues that they needed fixed. But at that same time, you knew Dan Mullen, for the long term of his career, we would have to recruit at a higher level. And look, he learned and was under Urban Meyer and one of the best to ever do it. He went against Nick Saban every single year at Mississippi State. He knows what a talent gap is. He should know how important recruiting is. And Kirby Smart probably said it best Saturday night after the game. You can't coach your way around talent. And I think Dan Mullen probably thought he could just a bit. And we've seen recruiting suffer because of it a little bit. And that's not to say he doesn't go out there and try, but there's a certain arrogance. There's a certain I'm going to do it my way. And look, you can't lock up the state of Florida in recruiting. That's the biggest issue right now. You have Alabama, you have Georgia, you have other schools coming in here and getting the state's best talent. When Miami is down, when FSU is down, when you had a chance in a great opportunity to take advantage of those schools being down while you're winning football games, you couldn't translate that on the recruiting trail. And that's where the long-term outlook you have some issues looking forward now, because you're going to add Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. You're already behind Alabama, Georgia, and LSU, on par with Auburn and Texas A&M in recruiting rankings. It's not going to get any easier. So Dan Mullen's got to really look at the approach in recruiting, how it needs to change. They got this new facility that should be opening up really soon in the next year. I mean, it's going to help, but it's really all about the approach and trying to get the state's best talent to stay home. That's where it starts, and that's where it has to get better for Dan Mullen. And if it doesn't, then a lot of these results we've seen at the end of last year and this year will continue.
So you're talking about the talent level projecting forward. Do you think this Florida team, where's the talent level for this Florida team when you're talking about, are they underachieving this year? Because, I just, from a NFL draft perspective, I know you got a couple pass rushers that are going to go pro. Jeremiah Moon's probably going to go pro after moving to the outside or to the inside linebacker position. That's working pretty well. And, you do have talent. Like Justin Shorter was a top 10 national recruit, was recruited by Florida, or wasn't a Florida commit initially, but where's the talent level of this particular team?
It's certainly better than 4-4. I guess that's where a lot of difference comes in. But yeah, you have Florida come out this season, and you knew it was going to be a change of what they were trying to do last year. Drop back passing 40 times a game with Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney. You knew this was going to be a 40 rushing attack in every game, 40 times a game rushing the ball. A huge change there. And they come out and they run the ball well. Florida's offensive line looked like they created some depth to go about 7-8 guys deep, and then injuries caught up with them up front. And then the quarterback position, throwing turnovers left and right. That's what's making up for the talent gap. Florida still has talent. Florida's recruited well enough for a overall top 10 recruiting class. But you did have some massive philosophical changes that were going along. And of course, there was going to be some bumps in the roads, but it's the turnovers, it's the penalties that really are just kind of shoving away the talent gap that Florida should have versus Kentucky, a banged up LSU team. Florida has enough talent for that. But if you want to, offense, they probably just don't. They don't have the offensive talent you saw last year. Of course, Emory Jones, very highly recruited quarterback. Dan Mullen's first recruited quarterback in his 2018 class. Hasn't necessarily lived up to his status. Richardson, everybody thinks the world of him, but still a young quarterback learning right now. And on defense, you hooked up front, Zach Carter, Brenton Cox. They've shown flashes this year, but not a lot of consistency. Florida had to go hit the transfer portal really, really hard up front at the defensive tackle position. Just a lot of inconsistency up front. It starts there for this Gator defense. And I think it's really just a level of inconsistency that we're seeing. You'll see them look like the 5-star, the high-level 4-star talent one game, but they can't follow it up. And you saw that versus Alabama when they played that team very close. And then just a few weeks later, go to Kentucky, and whether you believe Kentucky is as good as what they showed versus Florida, that's a whole different story. But Florida shouldn't be in that type of battle if everything's going right in that type of battle with Kentucky.
He's David Waters with Gators Breakdown. You can follow him on Twitter at GatorsDave_SEC. In terms of Saturday night, David, we talked about the mentality of the fan base administration, but what are you getting from this team? Because this Florida team, 4-4, are they still? Do you read them as still emotionally invested, even though a lot of the early season goals are gone? And then also, what is it like with that quarterback situation from what you read in the locker room? Is there a divide? Are they behind both guys? Is there a guy that they would prefer to see? Where is this team at coming into this game?
Well, we don't get to hear from them this week, so there's a bunker mentality there that Dan Mullen has put the program in this week. So we'll get the SEC teleconference today, and we'll get to hear more from Dan Mullen, but we haven't got to hear from the players except for after the Georgia game Saturday night. So, bunker mentality this week, that's what Dan Mullen's kind of put on the program. That's a come to Jesus, come together moment, I think, for this team. You could have said maybe it should have happened earlier, but that's where Florida is right now. And as far as the quarterback goes, Anthony Richardson does open up the offense a lot more, even in the limited action we've seen. He gets more players involved. He gets more players involved down the field. The receivers like that much better. I still think there's a certain confidence with both quarterbacks, but I do think maybe mentally to get these guys more involved or more guys involved on the offense, Richardson probably lends that way of thinking there for a lot of those players. I will say he's in concussion protocol. We did learn yesterday he has not practiced all week. That's Anthony Richardson there. We'll see if he practices on Wednesday and if that means he'll start versus South Carolina on Saturday. But if not, of course, Florida will go with Emory Jones. And it's really going to be about if Florida can just get this run game back going, get these quarterbacks comfortable, handing the ball off, but also getting them comfortable running the ball as well. That's when this offense has worked the best. So it doesn't really matter who's out there for Florida at quarterback, as long as both quarterbacks can get the run game going. But if not, that's where you'd like to see Richardson come in, get all the reps he can get, and start building for 2022 starting Saturday. But I'm not so sure we'll see him Saturday night.
He's David Waters, again, joining us with Gators Breakdown. Follow him on Twitter at GatorsDave_SEC. You and I were talking about this on your podcast last night, and we'll kind of finish up with this. It's the point spread is 18, 19, depending on where you look. It's a big point spread, almost 3 touchdowns. So Florida has to make some mistakes, according to Vegas, in order to lose this game. Where is Florida most vulnerable right now? Where is it? Is it mentally? Is there something that South Carolina, maybe because of a bye week, they change offensively and they can take advantage of? Is there something that Florida is doing offensively that maybe creates some issues and South Carolina's defense is able to get an easy score or get a turnover or two that changes the dynamics of this game? Where are the Gators most vulnerable right now where South Carolina can maybe take advantage?
Yeah, a couple of things there, one for each side of the ball. These quarterbacks for Florida, 14 interceptions thrown on the year. South Carolina, 11 interceptions for that defense this year. So Florida's going to come out and try and go away from the run game and want to pass the ball a bit more. Stats say that's not a good combo for Florida right now. And on the other side, who knows what you're getting from this Florida rush defense? You know, LSU is a team that couldn't run the ball before Florida, couldn't run the ball after Florida, but they rushed for over 300 yards on this Florida defense. So up and down performance, as I said, kind of starting up front for this defense for Florida. So there is a path there. This Florida defense doesn't show up, and it looks a lot like the LSU performance. The South Carolina will get some rushing yards, even though it doesn't look like they've been able to run the ball this year. LSU was kind of in that same boat. And if Florida wants to come out and start passing the ball all over the field and set up some interceptions for South Carolina's defense, then they can stay in that game as well that way. So there is a path there from what we've seen so far this year for South Carolina to stay in this game. And if they stay in this game late on a cold night in Columbia, South Carolina, who knows where this Gators team will be at mentally.
Again, he's David Waters joining us. Gators Breakdown. You can follow him on Twitter. A lot of great information regarding the Florida Gators at GatorsDave_SEC. Before I let you out, just again, this Florida team, I think this is the big thing. They're the more talented team. They're the better football team. If both teams come out and play a good football game, Florida wins and probably comes close to covering the spread. But as you read it, I know you can't talk to them this week. As you read it, you saw the end of that Georgia game. Mentally, if this team falls behind South Carolina early, do you think they have the fight in them, or do you think they come out energized and jump on South Carolina? South Carolina's been awful to start games. Look at Tennessee down 28-0. Look at Texas A&M; they were down big early. Georgia, same thing, and that's why to me, Saturday night early on, does Florida, in your opinion, have the fight to jump on South Carolina early, or if Florida falls behind, do they just mail it in and decide that it's not worth it?
I don't think they'll mail it in if this season's been any indication. Now, you did have the benefit of playing Alabama at home, but you came back from 21-3 in that game. And you still had your chances late versus Kentucky. And you came back versus LSU as well. Granted, you didn't come back last week versus Georgia, but nobody is when Georgia gets up that big. So maybe that Buckner mentality works this week. And no matter what the situation will be Saturday, they've come together this week, hopefully in practice, and hopefully that continues in to this week if you're a Florida player and get behind. Fast starts has kind of been inconsistent for Florida this year as well, so that could play into it. But hopefully, just to kind of changing philosophical shift this week and just kind of coming together, shutting out all the outside noise, lends itself to a better start for Florida.
Again, he is David Waters. Follow him on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC is the way to do that. Appreciate you getting up early, joining me. We've talked a lot. Look forward to seeing you this weekend here when you make the trip to town. Dave, thanks for joining us this morning.
Sounds good. See you this weekend.
Take care. David Waters, again, with Gators Breakdown, does a phenomenal job. Anything you want to kind of follow him on Twitter this week to keep up what's going on with Florida and Patrick. Yeah, they've gone into a bunker mentality. No, after Dan Mullen's press conference, they got a little testy on Monday. No players, no coaches, no media availability. Dan Mullen will do his required SEC teleconference today. And other than that, that's it.
That is kind of funny. I mean, I was just looking ahead, though. I mean, this could end up working out for them. When you look at Florida's schedule, they got South Carolina, Samford, and then Missouri and Florida State. Like, as bad as things are right now, they could very easily just come in, steamroll South Carolina, and get this thing on the right track and end this season in four in a row, be an 8-4 team, and actually feel pretty good about themselves. I think that's what I think they were. I don't know if you remember their preseason win total. Was it 8.5? I think it might have been 8.5, and I think we mostly went under on that. But if they could get up to that 8 number at this point, they got to be feeling really good about themselves. It does feel like South Carolina is very much a swing game for the Florida season because, I mean, if you lose to a bad South Carolina team, Dan Mullen could be gone next week, especially the way things are going right now. But if you come in and take care of business, Anthony Richardson ends up playing and looks really good. You win 4 in a row. They're going to score a bunch of points against Stanford, a bunch of points against Missouri, and then maybe beat your rivals, crush your rivals potentially. You're actually feeling pretty good about things.
Yeah, the fan base down there again is kind of in a weird place. I don't know if just 8 wins though necessarily makes them.
Well, no, it's too late for that already. But I mean, when you talk about salvaging things when the chips were really down, this could be an opportunity for Dan Mullen. You can't take back what you've already done this year, but as far as finishing strong, they're in actually pretty good position.
Still searching. I'm searching through my notepad that I keep here that has random stuff to see if I can find the over-unders that we had earlier this year. At the current moment, I do not see it. I will see if I can track that down. 803-404-6100, how you can join us. We'll come back and wrap up a fun edition, a busy edition of the early game. You're listening to 107.5 The Game. $60 degrees today, 50 degrees tomorrow. Odds of you jumping in the family pool, pretty low, I would guess. Pretty slim. However, that doesn't mean you can't sit outside and still enjoy the ambiance, the surroundings that you have. Odds are, if you got a pool back there, you got a nice little setup. You might have a fire pit. The key to that is keeping that pool maintained, though. There are going to be nice days. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at it next week. Temperatures in the 70s. You might want to come home after a long day at the office dealing with coworkers. Lord knows now you know how I feel. Go home and sit out back and enjoy the ambiance, the backyard that you have with a pool. But if the pool's murky, if it's green, if there's mosquitoes, well, that's not enjoyable at all. Call Corley Pool Solutions today, 803-445-8109. Flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. And that's important to know because it's actually more affordable to maintain your pool even during the off season than it is to start all over again come March. Flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. You can get it for a great price. Tracy Corley and his team, 20 plus years of experience in the business. They will do a weekly pool service, testing of the chemicals, making sure they vacuum and net your pool, keep the skimmer cleaning, filter backwashing, do all the work that you don't have time to do. And then that way, whether you're sitting out back right now during some decent weather, just kind of enjoying your backyard, having a clean pool, or whether you're being prepared come springtime and summertime to use it next year, it will continue to be maintained and in great shape. Don't let that pool go to waste. You spent too much money on it. Call Tracy Corley and Corley Pool Solutions today. 803-445-8109. That's Corley Pool Solutions.
Alrighty.
We're almost there.
I'm thankful for Zero Res. It's the only company I trust to give.
I don't know about that, Ty.
Most effective clean right now. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $119 when you mention me. Oh, that about wraps up today. Another phenomenal show, award-winning.
What's the breakfast?
Chocolate croissants.
Tomorrow,
Oh gosh.
3 different guests, and then
Bill's
Friday
not
we'll
paying
make some
attention.
picks. And
He's
thank goodness we'll be
ignoring
done with another week.
Bill doesn't have a
So
speaker on.
maybe
That's
Bill,
why he's still
can you
talking.
not hear him? He was talking about his chocolate croissants that he was just showing.
He doesn't have
Do
a
I know?
speaker on.
Who?
Turn the
Patrick,
speaker
he
on,
just kept
dude.
talking and he was trying to show you
Oh, sorry.
his
I
breakfast.
forget to turn on my volume right here. I don't know why I feel like I hear you through. You got the chocolate croissants?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
We've noticed that a couple times in the live stream this morning, actually.
Yeah, I don't think about doing that. That comes with unprofessionalism. Just no
Right?
professionalism. But I've never tried to be professional, so I can kind of live with that.
I don't try either. And usually my anger at times proves that.
Austin ate a chocolate croissant yesterday. Apparently that's becoming a part at school. Like when I picked him up, he had chocolate. So apparently they're just giving that out right now. Chocolate croissants are quite the rage, I guess.
Wow. Who knew?
Up as well.
I will admit I've stopped the last 2 mornings at Bojangles after the show to get biscuits. I don't know if it'll be a biscuit day at Bojangles.
What do you get?
Actually, well, Monday I had not eaten dinner Sunday night. And so I actually went with like the whole Cajun filet chicken meal, the chicken biscuit meal. And then yesterday was just a sausage biscuit. I went with just the sausage biscuit and the
We're coming back in. I did get confirmation and Gamecock Larry. I talked to his daughter, and he's not on hospice. It's just he's just having nurses, and doctors come in like for home health care just to kind of.
I'm sure he's just a little frustrated about people being ornery.
Exactly. So that's it. So I just want to let everybody know.
Okay.
Yep.
Final few minutes of the program, 803-404-6100. How you can join us this morning. Again, also reminder, you can always go join us on the live stream as well. You can go to our Twitter page, and the link is there. You can go to the Facebook page. The link is there. You can go to the YouTube page, search 1075 The Game. You kind of get the point. It's kind of easy to track down. You can anything also that you miss, you can go back and listen to on the website, the 1075thegame.com website. Jen does an incredible job of getting the podcast up, the interviews from this morning. So anything that you've missed from this particular show, any interview you've missed from any of the other shows, you can go back and catch. Tomorrow morning at 7:30, former South Carolina standout basketball player and current Lower Richland basketball coach JoJo English will join us at about 7:30, 8:20 tomorrow. If I can remember to text him tonight and remind him. Brian Edwards will join us with Vegas Insider, and 8:40 tomorrow. Kerry Tharp, Darlington Raceway president, will join us. So a busy show. South Carolina, Patrick, tomorrow night we'll get going in college basketball. It's an exhibition game. It's against Benedict right here in town. Keyshawn Bryant, Jermaine Cousinard not expected to play. I think I'm going to actually make it, try and get over there for that, to watch some of these newcomers that are going to participate and see exactly what they look like.
Who are you most excited to see? One thing.
Probably want to see James Reese a little bit. I don't know. It's a toss-up between he and Eric Stevenson. One of those two guys. I've heard some positive things about James Reese, both his defensive ability and the ability to shoot the ball, and then maybe Eric Stevenson because of his ability. I want to see a better shooting team.
Me too. I mean, you can't shoot like that, like you did last year, and expect to win games.
Yeah, I that's kind of what I want to catch tomorrow night and just see how they shoot the basketball. Obviously, Benedict isn't going to be an SEC team or Georgetown or Florida State, But again, just flat out being able to go and make open 3-pointers or open shots. South Carolina's also got some size in the post that should come into play tomorrow night. I will say this, Patrick, and we'll talk a little bit more college basketball tomorrow again as we get through college football and then look ahead to this coming weekend and whatnot. But with all that being said, this is one of the bigger, more physical South Carolina teams that they've got when you talk about Wildens Levesque. Josh Gray's a 7-footer. Javon Benson is back. They've got some big guys in that lineup that Frank Martin kind of rotate through there.
Yeah. Well, and more importantly, depth. I mean, if you get one person in foul trouble, you're not doomed. I mean, you don't have to just immediately switch over to small ball. You can throw a variety of big men at people. And to be honest, I don't even know how in the landscape of the SEC right now. I don't know what the deal is looking like. Is it a dominant year of post players? Like last year, I felt like college basketball was dominated by post players for the most part. It was a weird kind of throwback year, but South Carolina's going to be able to do that. They're going to be able to go 3-4 deep with guys that can legitimately guard centers, guard 7-footers, and not be a problem. So if you get in foul trouble, not having to just immediately revert to small ball is, I think, the biggest benefit.
Next Tuesday night, South Carolina will open the season against USC Upstate. But again, tomorrow night, exhibition game against Benedict. If you want to get over there and check that out, 7 o'clock. Well, again, we'll talk more about that tomorrow when South Carolina actually gets ready to play. JoJo English will join us 7:30 tomorrow morning. You can hear his take. I'm kind of interested to hear him also just talk about high school basketball in general. JoJo being from the Midlands and growing up around there here, going through his recruitment. So we'll catch up with JoJo English tomorrow morning at 7:30. Brian Edwards, a Vegas insider, at 8:20, and Kerry Tharp tomorrow morning at 8:40. This morning, anything you missed, you can go to the 1075thegame.com webpage. Dr. John Walsh, big thank you to him for joining us, and David Waters with Gator Breakdown. Braves are World Series champions, Patrick.
Yep. Congratulations, Braves fans.
National League East is something else, which you had the Nationals 3 years ago, the Braves now. Oh,
dominating baseball.
Dominating. Enjoy
baseball.
Enjoy your day, Braves fans. Try to be productive at work. Try not to harass any Mets or Phillies fans.
Or don't go. Just call out.
Appreciate everybody for joining us this morning. You've been listening to The Early Game. Bill Gunner, Patrick Pratt, Jen Jensen. We'll do it again tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day.
All right.
Fun.
All right. Yep. To do it again tomorrow.
What the heck? Okay.
What?
I'm just saying, what the heck? We'll do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, 7 subscribers away from 900. Not bad, Hope.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not subscribe.
Huh?
If you're watching right now and not subscribed on the YouTube, we need you.
Yeah. Get over there and subscribe. Everybody just tweet something out today. Get them to subscribe.
When you touch Brian Edwards tonight, make sure you tell him bring his A game, because people are taking shots right now.
There you go.
I will do it.
We're gonna have to Hope a raise.
All right.